Janice, is this a friendly? Sweetie said oh, wow. Oh, I need to say.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, I can, thanks.
Okay. They're about to start.
I see that. Thank you.
Anytime.
What's your worst? I've got 2 minutes, yeah. Ms. Bola, we can see you.
I can see you too, Mrs. Studdard.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. From the Northwoods of Wisconsin.
Yep. We're going to start on time. Just hang loose.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Is it cold up there?
Actually, we were out in this morning swimming, and it's a little rainy right now. So it's nice to be inside the cabin.
Very good.
And the s'mores are very tasty.
30 seconds. The invocation tonight will be led by Dr. Charles Lever, who is the pastor at Orange Park United Methodist Church, which just happens to be my church. So welcome, Dr. Lever. He will lead us in the invocation and the pledge, if you'll stand.
Let us join together in prayer. Almighty God, we gather this evening that offers our children the opportunity to enlighten their minds and to learn to live and grow together, and we give you thanks for these. We are grateful for a nation where our children can attend school in relative peace and where opportunities abound for nurture and enrichment. As we gather this evening, we are mindful of our school board and our superintendent and the services they render, and we give you thanks for these. We thank you for those, both old and new, who have come together this evening to advance the cause of education in this community. Grant us all, we pray, discerning minds and compassionate hearts, that we can continue to meet the needs of a new generation of students in the midst of a changing world. We pray for our economy and for the havoc it can play in the lives of our children and our families. Enable us to teach our students the value of their talents and abilities by revealing to them the difference that one person can make for the good. Enable us to teach our students the ways of love by rising above the pettiness of personal differences for the common good. Enable us to express to our students our appreciation for what others have done for us by doing things for others. Enable us to prepare our students to seize the opportunities that are presented to them in life by providing an environment for them which nurtures and cultivates the enlightenment of body, soul, mind, and spirit. And enable us to teach our students how to strive for excellence by accepting change gracefully when it is necessary to move beyond what we are to what we can become. Amen. Let us join together in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lieber. The Clay County School Board monthly meeting will come to order June 27th, 2019. I want to welcome all of you citizens of Clay County. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room. Indicate the specific number or topic you wish to speak about and turn it in promptly. You may turn it in to any of the deputies. There's one over here in the back, and Chief Wagner on my right. If you will give your card to one of the deputies, then they will get it to me. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the public comment section under presentations from the audience. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. Under our recognitions and awards tonight, we have recognize the 2018-2019 retirees, and I see a lot out here. Kathy Richardson. Oh, and let me state for the record, Ms. Bola is in Wisconsin on a long ago planned vacation, but we have made arrangements for her to participate in the board meeting tonight electronically. So this is something new. Now, Mary, we can see every speck on your face, so, don't pick your nose or do anything nasty, okay? Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr.
All right. All right, Ms. Richardson.
Yes. Well, good evening. It's an honor tonight to stand before you to recognize a special group of employees who have dedicated literally thousands of years to this Clay County School District. The retiring class of Clay County School District consists of 99 members this year, and they have a total of 2,035 years of experience. And for those who are into data, that averages out to about 20.5 years per retiree for this year. As administrators and former administrator, we know this is a challenge that we have to be able to replace all of this knowledge and this experience that has been retiring throughout this year. There's a certain amount of angst as some of our retirees start thinking about retirement. But once they cross over that threshold, they kind of get a little pep in their step. They get a little smile. They start relaxing. You start seeing them really enjoying life. And as you look out, a lot of those have this big old smile all over their face. So retirement is going to be very, very welcoming to them, and we just want to acknowledge them. So this group of retirees has been a blessing to our county and so deserving of this recognition tonight. Tonight, we have 16 of the 99 retirees, so I'm going to present those. If Mr. Davis, if you would like to come forward and hand all of these. And before we start coming up to these, I want to remind you that many of these retirees started retiring as of July 1 of 2018, all the way up until June 30th of this week. And throughout the year, they've been celebrating at their schools and at the district. And we just want to take this opportunity tonight to just publicly acknowledge them and just thank them for their dedication that they have given to Clay County. When I read your names, if you'll come forward, and the number of years that I am explaining or sharing with you are the years that have been in Clay County. A lot of them have come from different districts or different states as well, but this is for the years that they've dedicated to Clay County. So the first one that I would like to acknowledge, which was one of the first ladies I met when I came to Clay County, is Charlene Calise. And she has 28 years to Clay County. And if you'll stay up here, we'll do a picture moment in just a little while. The next one, with 29 years, is Denise Sealer. With 35 years, Jean Collins. With 12 years, Luminous Dorset. Just look at those smiling faces, they're coming up. Like no more children. Yes. With 11 years, James Dunlap. With 32 years, Darlene Goodyear. With 27 years, Janet Hallstrom. With 5 years, Catherine Lancaster. "19 years, Terry Lawrence. With 35 years, Angela Ledbetter. With 19 years, Deborah Monet. With 23 years, Teresa Patterson. With 30 years, Bonnie Showman. With 9 years, Rebecca Smith. With 21 years, Alan Walker. Congratulations. And the last one, with 24 years, Ellen Walwork. Let's give all of these retirees a big clap. I'll let you go in there.
No, you go right ahead.
Hey, some people can't stay away from the camera. How many total years did they say? How many? Ms. Richardson, how many total years did you say? 2,035 years. That is amazing. Oh. I hope you all enjoy your well-deserved retirement. Okay, next on our agenda is Ms. Kelly Watt to recognize the Social Studies Teachers of the Year.
All right. So tonight we are here to recognize 5 of our social studies teachers who have earned district awards. So if I can have those 5 teachers come on up here, and then I'd like to introduce them to you. Thank you. All right. So every year, the Florida Council for Social Studies provides us the opportunity to recognize our outstanding teachers. This year, teachers, administrators, and staff members were invited to nominate social studies teachers from kindergarten up through 12th grade who inspire student learning and creativity in their classroom. So these teachers competed for 3 different awards: a Beginning Teacher Award, Excellence in Teaching History Award, and as the Outstanding Social Studies Teacher Award for elementary, junior high, or senior high. This year, we had over 50 teachers nominated across the district. Tonight, I would like to introduce you to the 5 teachers who were selected to represent our district. All right. And for the first one, Carrie Armagan. She teaches at Swimming Pen Creek. She has a passion for history and a passion for kids. She runs a dynamic classroom where 3rd graders have the opportunity to immerse themselves in history, geography, and civics through student-led projects. Social studies comes to life through primary source projects, living museums, and real-world simulations. For example, we know that her kids, when they learn about the Constitution, there are so many different ways to teach it, but she has the kids write their own Constitution, and they serve as delegates, and they take turns signing that. Very creative. Colleagues and parents and students say they just so much appreciate her soft-spoken kindness, her compassion, and the mutual respect that she establishes in her classroom. As one of her colleagues puts it, she's at the forefront of the next generation of great teachers. So Carrie Armigan from Swimping Creek, congratulations, you are our Outstanding Social Studies Teacher of the Year in the Elementary Division. Mr. David Bradley, he teaches social studies at Oakleaf Junior, and there are so many things that you can say about Mr. Bradley. But we know that he is a true mentor to the students that come through, not just those that come through his door, any of the students on his campus. When he sees a child, he doesn't just see who they are. He sees what they're going to be. He believes in the very best of every single one of them. And those students, they rise to it. Mr. Bradley has been a mentor to hundreds and hundreds of students over his career. You know that as a child, you will leave his class better than when you arrived, not just as a student, but as a person. Mr. Bradley has proudly served in the Marines, and he continues to serve our children and our community. So, Mr. Bradley, thank you for everything you do for our community. He is our Outstanding Social Studies Teacher of the Year in our middle school division. Jenna Abbott teaches world history, both just world history and AP World History at Orange Park High. And when you become a student in her class, just be prepared to be inspired. She engages her students every day in rigorous academics while also fostering really strong relationships with every single one of her students. If you're a child in her class, you know that you have a champion in her. And this gives these kids the confidence to believe in themselves and ultimately find their own voice, which we know is so important in social studies and just in life in general. She's humble, she's kind, and we are just incredibly grateful that she is part of One Clay. So Jenna, you are our Outstanding Social Studies Teacher of the Year in our senior high division. Congratulations. Grayson Jones, he teaches social studies at Orange Park Junior High. And I've spent a lot of time in his classroom, and I've also brought a lot of teachers and people through his classroom. The one thing that they all say is they just cannot believe that he is a first-year teacher. He teaches like a seasoned educator. Every one of his lessons is well planned. He knows he has the end goal in mind. He knows what every single one of those students needs. And he meets those needs. He's a mentor to his students. They look up to him. They respect him. And those kids will do anything he asks because they know that he believes in them. And there's a mutual respect, and they believe in each other. While our data has not come out yet, I know we're all anxiously awaiting it, no doubt his kids are going to be celebrating because they achieve in his class. They achieve as humans, and they achieve as students. He pushes them to be their very best. I don't know what the future holds for Mr. Jones, but I know that it is going to be bright for him and for his students. So I'd like to recognize him tonight as Clay County's Warren Tracy Beginning Teacher Award. And Julie McCree. Julie McCree teaches at Middleburg High, and she teaches social studies. Any adult, probably any kid, will tell you that change is hard. And Julie is being recognized tonight because she has not only accepted change, she has completely embraced it for the betterment of her students. So last year, and I'm not telling you anything that she wouldn't tell you right here, Ms. McCree decided to make sweeping changes in her instructional practices. She saw her data, and while we were very proud of it, we were excited. She just knew that her kids were capable of more. So she made big decisions. Rows of desks were moved into groups. Textbooks were turned into Chromebooks. And teacher talk moved into student talk. It was a big risk, and any teacher will tell you in a high accountable subject area, it's scary when you take these big changes. It wasn't little, it was drastic. And she welcomed support, she worked with the teachers on her campus, she formed a great team, and she worked with her kids. She monitored to see where they were, what did they need, and is it working? And I will tell you, again, while our data hasn't come back, we were monitoring throughout the year. And her student achievement, the number of kids who were successful, shot up. These kids were succeeding like they never have before. And it was phenomenal. And it was because she put those kids first and what their needs first. And it was super exciting to see. So Julie, I am so excited tonight to recognize you as our Excellence in Teaching History Award for Clay County this year. And thank you to all. Do you want, feel free to come up and get some pictures of these wonderful teachers. Sure.
Yeah, okay. I told him he was getting his feelings this year.
Look at all the lenses at the same time.
He just doesn't have a big old cup. Now, I know that school board meetings are the most interesting thing that you can do on a Thursday night. But if you are here because of honoring a retiree or one of the social studies teachers, now is your opportunity to escape. I'll give you a few minutes. I know you may want to stay, and you're certainly welcome to. But I sense some people, oh my goodness, we're losing our whole audience. Thank you for coming. We don't have any of our friends here. Hmm? Where? Which one? Okay. Boy, talk about losing your audience in a hurry. Ms. Bolo, they're all gone. Except we do have the loyalist here. Okay. We do not have any presenters tonight. We do have a school showcase. None other than Argyle Elementary School, Miss Angela Ward. Angela Ward is the illustrious principal, and after she finishes, I'll give y'all a chance to escape too, okay? Oh, look at those thumbs up. Okay,
I told
Ms.
him that I'd
Ward.
stay the whole time. All right, Nathan gave me a quick tutorial on this thing, and then Kemp touched it. So if it doesn't work, it's his fault. But anyway, Thank you tonight for inviting us to showcase our school, Mr. Davis and school board members. It is my honor to serve as the principal of Argyle Elementary. I don't consider that a job. These ladies behind me are my second family, and I drive an hour to that school every day, and it's the best hour well spent. And with me tonight, I have my AP, Winitra Dixon. She's transferred from Thunderbolt to Argyle. So I told her she was going to have to do the talking tonight. I mean, she's been there 2 weeks. But anyway. And I also want to recognize the teachers and staff members that are behind me because they gave up time on their summer break to come because that's just what Argyle does. We support each other. Yeah, y'all can cheer. So at Argyle, we try really hard to instill, and that did not come out right now when I look at it. We instill pride, and that is our character-based program that we work through our students. All classrooms have an Argyle Pride poster that stands in their room. The teachers teach it. We do assemblies at the beginning. And as a result of all of that hard work that our teachers and staff put in from the beginning, we do not have the discipline issues that other schools would have. I think last year, I looked at it yesterday, was 54 referrals in the entire year because our teachers are instilling the pride and having children respect their school, respect themselves. And so, as my bottom quote says, as a school, we strongly feel that if we spend that time building the social and emotional parts, we set them up for success. That was my brownie points from Macaulay. Strengths and accomplishments. The bottom part says we're looking forward to our school grades. We were only 4 points away from an A this past year. And today, if we hit refresh one more time on the FSA, I think my refresh button is probably broke. And I said, if it comes out while we're talking, that's going to be bad news. So we have iReady results. That's what we can go on. And if you see at the top, we had the iReady reading. Our typical growth was 136%, and we made a stretch growth of 42%. And our fifth grade was the top. They made a 205% typical and a 100% stretch growth. So hats off to my fifth grade team. In math, we had 133% growth with a 44% stretch growth, and we had three grade levels that made either 100% or higher. It was kindergarten at 133 typical and 104 stretch, first grade at 140% typical and 105 stretch, and third grade we had 148 and 106 stretch. So we had three grade levels that excelled and met their growth for the year. And for those of you who do not understand iReady or what that means they made their year growth and some during the school year. And then we also have some results for Achieve. And you can see there, we went up at least 100 plus points in every grade level that used Achieve. All of our data is exciting, but the science data in particularly, our baseline, we only had 18% of our students proficient. When we took the end of the year midline, we had 68% proficient. So we are eagerly looking for our grades and FSA to come out to see how that relates to our growth. So the way we improved our teaching and learning, we had PLCs last year on small group implementation. We used the PLCs to focus on data. We had 10 teachers who, on their own, participated in a rigor is not a four-letter word, just to build. At the beginning of the school year, we had a meeting, and everybody had a different definition for rigor. So after we compiled as a school what rigor meant to Argyle, then we went from there. The next one was placing teachers in the right positions, and that was not administration running in and saying, you will teach this. This was talking to our teachers of where your skill sets are so you are the best for your school, and moved several teachers so that they could fit that. We worked through the content focus that comes out by Mr. Connor, and we would pass that out to our teachers, and then as we were doing walkthroughs, if we noticed they were ahead or behind, we would work individually with those teachers to make sure that they got back onto the pacing. There was consistency among our grade levels, and we did lots more data talks this year. These are just some of the ways that we tried to build that pride within our students and our teachers. We have iReady and Achieve competitions. We have recognition for citizenship with students. We have recognition in classroom successes, and the picture there is Kate Ray's class. And that is the second time she was been recognized by Achieve 3000. for her growth. So that was great. And of course, we do the normal things, the Honor Roll Party, Resource Awards, student ownership, and we have a teacher staff board, and that teacher is with me tonight, Miss Jess Streety. Will you stand, wave, something? This young lady took it upon herself to help build morale. She made a board in our teacher's lounge, and every month she updates it with a different theme and a different cutouts, and people write random nice things about other teachers, and then at the end of the month she goes around and blesses each of the teachers that were written with that. So she does that. In fact, I already told her, I said, we got to start working on next year. I asked, could I do the first one, and she said, no. No, that was my nice version. Parents in Education is our PTA, and this is the Argyle community, and this is just what they work on throughout the year. We have Boardwalk Bash, which is in September. You're always welcome to attend. They do a Monster Mash on October 31st, so the kids, because if you've never been to Argyle, we're the farthest north Clay County school that you have to go travel all through Duval before you come back into us on Clay. Right. We are the only large structure in Clay County in our area, so we don't have lots of opportunities to go out into the community. We have to bring the community to us. So we are the hub of the community. And a hardship sometimes are the half days, the early release days. So our pies try to do either socials or all you have to do is turn music on and have popcorn. And those kids love it. So we try to do that as often as possible. We are also high military, so we recognize our military families when they come and go and deploy. And that if you ever watch a Publix commercial and cry, that's what it's like watching the kids, because they like to surprise them, and it's just a good night. And we have family nights, we have STEAM night, we have book fairs, and our Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts meet with us at our school. And I put this slide in here because this is an activity or a project that our local Girl Scouts are actually working on. If you have ever worked at Argyle, or you've ever even talked to me about Argyle, you know about the tree. I know, did I get an amen back here? So the tree is the meeting place. That's where we're going to meet and take care of whatever we didn't agree on during school. So our Girl Scouts came to me and said, if we call Clay County Sheriffs and we meet with somebody, will you stay with us and help explain? So of course I can't deny Girl Scout cookies, and I can't deny helping little Girl Scouts. So we stayed and we got all the data ready for them, and then those young ladies went to each homeowners association meeting and presented to them so that they could help designate the tree as a more positive influence in the neighborhood versus a place to meet up. So they are working on different signage to put out there to kind of help build. I asked, could I paint on the sidewalks, but I got told no. Miss Bola, I thought was going to help me because her husband is my county commissioner, but he told me I couldn't graffiti up the sidewalk. But we were trying to put positives down the sidewalk, so we didn't.
We tried.
I know, we did. I was just going to do it, but ask for forgiveness later. Yeah, and these are just our extra opportunities, and those are most common in every school: robotics and drama and safety patrol. We have Pioneer Helpers, and my teacher that runs that is also with us, Miss Jessica Ayers. And that's a little spin on, so she takes applications and takes about 40 students, and those students are teacher helpers. They either come early in the morning and help teachers get ready for the day, or they stay later in the afternoon, or they're on the news crew, or they might be the ones helping us with walking the little ones to the parent pickup. So she does an excellent job of corralling them up and getting them to work. And then areas of opportunities for Argyle. We don't have our scores yet, so this is just going off of the data that we have looked at through iReady. We certainly need to continue working on ELA proficiency and learning gains. We're excited that we get the LAFS program from 2nd grade through 6th from the beginning of the school year. We're going to look at gains in our lowest quartile in math. We are a 100% school-wide Eureka. That's new for this coming year. We're going to continue working with small group implementation and data talks and discussing high-quality material that's stuck in front of students, and then we're also wanting to increase our parent involvement. So in a nutshell, that is Argyle Elementary. I didn't look at my paper one time.
The chair guys.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful. And Ms. Bola, you could not help her be able to get graffiti on the sidewalks. What kind of pull do you have with the county
We
commissioner?
tried. Both of us tried, and they just wouldn't listen to us. But and technically, it wasn't the commissioner; it was the county manager.
Oh, okay.
Well,
All
that
right.
person's
go.
changed. We can go
Okay,
now.
revisit.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Excellent job. And I hope you enjoy being at your new school. See, after 2 weeks, you don't have to speak, right?
That's right.
Very good.
And-
Thank you. And thank you all for coming.
That's right.
Love Argyle.
Say one thing.
Yeah, yeah. If you do not want to stay for the exciting board meeting, now is your opportunity to leave.
Before they leave, however,
Mr. Davis, did you want to say something
Go
to
ahead, Ms.
him?
Bullock.
sorry, before they leave, Miss Ward is a former student of mine. And I have some stories. It'll be the
yeah.
first time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be the first time she's ever asked permission. She always asks forgiveness.
And I'm gonna have to, and through the chair, I'm gonna have to get some of those stories, Ms. Bullock. But nonetheless, Ms. Ward, thank you for your leadership. We appreciate you and what you're doing at Argyle. We know your team's here. Thank you all for it as well. Ms. Dixon, welcome aboard. And we know you did great things there. You're going to do great things here. So look forward to a great 2019-2020 school year. So thank
Very
you.
good. Have a nice summer. Gee, talk about losing an audience. Bye. This is the last call for comment cards. If there is anyone else who wants to speak for 3 minutes, turn it in right now, because they won't be accepted once I. Okay, here's one. Just hang on a minute. I've got to see what this is. Okay, just a minute. Wait, let me check this out real quick, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to see what.
Madam Chair.
No,
Mrs.
I'm
Studdard.
good.
Mrs. Studdard.
Yes, Mr. Bickner.
Two of those from Mr. Otto, when I read the topic, one of them looks like it has something to do with donating money to the fairgrounds from the county commission. The other looks like it has to do with public dumping and toxic waste, both of which, those things look like they should go before the county commission. They have nothing to do with anything on our agenda. So that's why I wrote county commission ? The other two are
These
equally
don't really
difficult.
relate to any agenda items, so how about I just treat these all and I'll give him 3 minutes to speak, and
That
then,
works.
because these don't have anything to do with us.
That was the difficulty I was having.
Okay, thank you. This caught me off guard. I've never. Okay. Well then. He also has one filled, Mr. Bickner, there's also one filled out on the D1 item.
On D1,
Yeah, where all the other cards are.
likely that should take place when we have D1.
Okay,
but-
all right, I'm good. Okay. No more comment cards? Everybody got theirs handed in? Okay. There's no presentations from the audience. Now we'll move to adoption of the consent. Mr. Otto, you're not recognized yet. Oh, wait, excuse me, not you yet. Okay. On public comments, Mr. Otto, James Otto. Mr. Otto, you filled out 4 cards on items that are related, it looks like, to county commission business, which has nothing to do with us. So if you would be so kind as to just kind of combine what you wanted to say into one 3-minute topic, because we don't have anything to do with toxic dumping, and I don't know what that's even about. And then,
Well, there was a book wrote about kids getting.
do what?
There was a book wrote about kids getting
Mr. Otto,
cancer.
state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. James Otto, 2904 through 2910 Blaney Boulevard,
Okay.
Middleburg,
I'm
Florida.
going to give you 3 minutes, but this has got like fairgrounds, 500,000, bad choice, no tax money, and then toxic dumping. Now, anyway, just you have 3 minutes. State your name and address.
Yes, ma'am. I did that.
Okay.
The timer had already started, so
Okay.
maybe you
We'll
could
start right now.
that.
We'll start right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I can clarify that stuff. I apologize. Your cards are a little more to do than the county commissioners, so I was a little still confused on how to exactly get those filled out, but that's okay. I would appreciate, encouraging the citizenry to stay here instead of, pushing them out the door. I'd like them to be encouraged to.
We weren't pushing them out the door. We were trying to be polite to them.
I got you. Yes, ma'am. I understand. So the other thing I wanted to say is, Rollins kicked me out of a public meeting at the Board of County Commissioners, and I appreciate y'all not kicking me out here. I go to a lot of meetings, and they're open to the public, and you should be able to come and speak and not be bullied around. So I appreciate that by the board. 2020, Mr. Davis, 2020. So hopefully we'll vote for Yahoo instead of Rollins. We want to be able to keep our public comments at our meetings and not be hushed. So if people would please look into that. In reference to the fairgrounds, we don't need to spend $500,000 on fairgrounds when the streets for our school buses are the way they are and other issues in this county. The toxic dumping issues like Easy Base, where the lady's on YouTube saying that her child's sick, and we need to get to the bottom of this. We had a business dumping on top of our aquifers, chemical waste, and the Board of County Commissioner needs to bring this more to the forefront. These are our kids that are drinking this water, bathing in it, and they had to approve alcohol just to get money into the fairgrounds. So I would say just strike that. We have a lot of issues. Green Cove Springs is a beautiful place, and it's being taunted, or, it's not looking good in the paper right now, and that's unfortunate. We got the spring there, the pool, the volleyball court, all that. We need to shed a good light, not a bad light on this county like's been done right recently. So I just ask people to look for that book about the kids that got cancer from chemical dumping and ask yourself, do we really need to spend $500,000 on a fairground when we got this chemical dumping in Clay County? And you'd have to tell yourself, no, we really don't. We need to fix this dumping problem that's a problem to everybody in this county. And thank you for my time, and I'll try and get those cards a little better.
Yeah. Mr. Otto, your time's up, and I appreciate you speaking. But if you would do us a favor in the future, if you would address items that are related to the school board of Clay County's agenda. We do not do the work of the county commission, and what you discussed was all county commission items. And so if you could confine it to issues pertinent to the Clay County School District. I'd appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
This
you.
is supposed to be public comment, right? So that you're allowed to speak on anything.
Well, not, but you need to speak on things related to the school district.
Okay,
We don't have
so-
any control over the county commission.
Right. Well, hopefully they're going to give you some more money, and definitely on the security after hours, because that was
Okay.
the sheriff's
Okay.
responsibility, and he doesn't want to do it now, so y'all should be funded for that.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Mr. Otto. Okay, next we have the adoption of the consent agenda. There were no items pulled. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Karikas, a second by Ms. Bullock. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. That was the motion by Karikas and second by Bullock. Okay. Next, we have the CCEA update. Is anyone here just from the CCEA to give the update? Okay. CESPA update, Teresa Dixon.
It's tall. Teresa Dixon, I'm CESPA president. And tonight, I really wanted to take my time tonight to talk about an issue that is on the consent agenda. I didn't know if I should wait for those comments.
You mean on the discussion agenda?
Yes, I'm sorry, on the discussion agenda, if I should wait for those comments or present my thoughts now.
What do y'all want to do?
She can go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I really wanted to talk about the issue of the vote that's going to take place tonight on whether to put the tax referendum on the ballot. And I've had a lot of deep thought about it and tried to understand it. And let's face it, no one likes taxes. No one does. However, they are a manner in which we pay for our public services. These services that we all enjoy as a community. Taxes pay for our roads, our infrastructure, our police, and other emergency services. They provide a means to keep us safe, healthy, and yes, they pay for public education of our citizens. Without taxes, we would all face the lack of these services and the obliteration of our community as we know it. Now, like you, I'm sure, I've reviewed the budget, I've looked at it, and I've also, along with that, looked and considered the fact that our Florida legislature has continued to chip away at the contributions to our local public school systems, which educate 90% of our students. They continue to mandate unfunded or underfunded directives, such as the safety and security mandate, among other things, that are requiring us to contribute more and more to, and requires us to go out and ask for money from our community to help support those issues. And that places a stranglehold on our public schools and ties the hands of our education professionals. And it seems that it's all an attempt to monopolize education for particular purposes. Our children, unfortunately, are caught in the middle of this argument of how much, if any, is too much, along with the faux promises that a greater number of choices will bring about a better system. Now, I call this faux because simple common sense tells me that when you continue to slice a pie thinner and thinner sections, what you gain in the number of choices, you sacrifice in getting a fulfilling portion. You create a system where there's never enough to do what needs to be done, and you can't expect the best by continually taking away the means to pay for the best. I believe, along with thousands of others, that there is nothing more valuable nor more important than providing a quality education to our children, which, in my mind, equates to the possibility of a successful future for them. Not just for some of our children, though. For all of our children. They all deserve to be educated in buildings that are safe and sound. I find myself very frustrated by the sight of unnecessary, beautiful charter school buildings paid for out of public funds for a relatively few number of students, while the majority of our students sit in aging buildings with ceilings falling in. And then I hear questions like, why were these repairs not budgeted for? Well, maybe because there was not adequate funds to make these repairs. Maybe past administrations kicked the can down the road. Maybe impact fees and millages were not properly imposed due to the few votes that they might have cost some of our elected officials. Apparently, for some, re-election is more important than the needs of our children. I also read many blogs of varying opinions, most of which I found to be loud, obnoxious, exaggerations, pummeled with inaccuracies, half-truths, and downright lies in some. I mean, where in the county do our students pay $25 for a locker fee? I can't believe some of this stuff, and I can't believe that people believe some of this stuff. Yet it's often these loud, obnoxious exaggerations that get the attention. As this type of manipulative sensationalism entices people to jump on a boat going nowhere. Now, believe me, the $5 locker fees that are actually charged would not generate enough funds for the repairs needed, much less the additional schools that must be built, especially if we don't wish to cram 40 or 50 students in a single classroom. As a 30-year employee of Clay County School System, a citizen of this county for more than 50 years, an active and engaged voter, a taxpayer, a homeowner, and an additional property owner, a grandmother, a mother, and a great-grandmother of students who have been and continue to be provided an exceptional education within the walls of Clay County Public Schools. I implore you, do what's right for the students of the Clay County Public School System. It's been well established and agreed by every school board member sitting here today and via mobile apps that there is a real and great need to provide funds for our Clay County Public School System so that they can continue to be able to provide for the needs of our students. Quality teachers, quality staff, quality buildings, and a quality education. Again, I hear all the rumblings that public education is failing our students, but I'll tell you adamantly, I do not agree. Public schools are not failing our students. A state government that refuses to provide for the needs of the public schools are failing our students. Taxpayers that balk at the thought of paying a half-cent sales tax to support our schools are failing our students. Homeowners that do not understand that their property values are directly affected by the quality of the public schools surrounding them are failing our students. Community members that want to keep their heads in the sand, thinking that they can prevent our sleepy community from growing by discouraging taxes to provide for the children, are failing our students. All this to save a few bucks. And until we recognize these issues and determine to change them, it'll continue. This is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is not a religious right issue. This is not a policy issue. And it's not a matter of poor budgeting on our current school board's part. This is a question of being able to continue to provide for the basic human right of a quality public education, a safe quality public education for every child in Clay County. As the elected school board members, members who have all sworn an oath to perform your school board duties in the best interest of Clay County public school children, today you'll decide if Clay County Public Schools will be able to continue being at the top of the school system in the state. You should make that decision based solely and completely on your belief, your knowledge, and your understanding of what the needs of this county and its public school system are. After watching the agenda review, as well as being present at the last school board meeting, I heard all of you all 5, agree that a half-cent sales tax is needed. The only question that was when to place it on the ballot. Due to legislative changes, you know that if it's not done now, it'll have to wait until November 2020, putting Clay County behind the 8 ball getting things done. Honestly, though, the reason some of you are hesitant is because you've heard complaints from some of your voting constituents that want it pushed to 2020. Let's be even more honest, and I'm going to be really blunt. Let's talk about the intent. You and I both know, truly, it's not because they think the general election is in the best interest of the voters. It's certainly not because they think that waiting until 2020 is going to be better for the public school students in Clay County. In reality, it's because they hope that it will fail. There's a small but vocal section of citizens who hate everything about Clay County Public Schools. They have no interest in contributing to the quality education of Clay County's public school students. Again, 90% of the students that are educated. In essence, they want the public school system to fail. But if this is indeed an urgent need, as all 5 of you have said, why wait? Is it to appease that small percentage of your voters? Are you sacrificing the needs of children attending Clay County Public Schools to buy a few votes? If that's the case, shame on you for violating your oath and for putting your political position ahead of what's best for the children of Clay County Public Schools. Be sure all voters on both sides of the issues are watching and waiting for your answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. And now the superintendent's update and presentations.
For my summer gift to the board and everybody else watching, this month I'm going to defer my time to Dr. Kemp, who will speak a little bit to one of the agenda items in discussion. But nonetheless, I want to congratulate all the retirees who had over 2,000 years of experience. Thank you for your continued efforts for our children. We will miss you. The door will always be open to you. In addition, congratulations to the 5 individuals who were selected and identified as the Social Studies Teachers of the Year. And lastly, congrats to all of the graduates. Know that we care for you. We will always be there to support you as well. If you need us, we're only a phone call away. So there it is.
Hey, ladies, say thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Record time.
This is unbelievable.
It will not last.
Okay. We know next month it'll be different. Okay. Now we will move to the discussion agenda. I do have 11 cards on this, but before I recognize these cards, I have asked Dr. Kemp and Dr. Legutko to make a presentation to kind of set the stage. And so I believe Dr. Legutko, you're going first. This is our Assistant Superintendent for Finance, and then she'll be followed by Michael Kemp, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Operations. Thank you.
Just testing it.
Did
Hello?
do you have a hard copy for the board? Is it in here? Okay, never mind. We've got it. I thought this was
Ms.
just-
Bowler was sent electronic. It's all embedded.
Oh, it's embedded. Okay. Okay, thank
Ready?
you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. My presentation is really going to go over the differences between our operating fund and our capital fund, but I'm going to really speak about our budget, a Reader's Digest version of just the 2 funds. But I am going to preface all of my information that I present today is that everything is tentative. Nothing is final at this point because we're still closing our books. We're still trying to, finalize the budget. But pretty much the capital and the operating, the numbers that I'm going to present are pretty fair to what we believe it will be at the tentative budget on July 23rd. Okay? All right. So what I wanted to say, of course, is we have 4 major funds that actually represent our overall budget. Those 4 major funds are the general fund, our special revenue fund, our debt service, and our capital funds. Of those 4, 2 of them, the operating and the capital, are the main funds that we use to operate our school system or our school business. Our total estimated budget for our operating funds, which again, our operating fund is the primary fund that accounts for all of our financial resources of the school district, except those required to be accounted for in another account. For example, our debt service, it is specific. We are required to budget for debt service, though the debt service fund is primarily used to repay debt on borrowing related to our construction or our capital expenditures. Capital projects, of course, are the major governmental fund that accounts for the acquisition and construction of major capital facilities, maintenance of our facilities, and pretty much equipment purchases and other capital assets. Just so you know, with our Florida School Finance, statutorily, we are required to budget certain funds and certain expenditures in restricted type of funds. Capital funds is one of those where we can only spend those dollars for certain items. General fund, you can spend it on pretty much everything related to education or instructional or operating the school system. But capital, you've got to spend it on capital projects and equipment, and is very specific. Okay? So let me just talk a little bit about our general fund. Our total estimated budget for next year is approximately $299 million. Of that $299 million, $234 million represents our FEFP. FEFP is Florida Education Finance Program. Those are the dollars that we receive from the state to fund education. In addition to that, we are required to levy X amount of dollars. It's called our required local effort. In that, it's about $55.1 million that we will levy for potentially next year for the general fund. In addition to those two numbers, there's $10 million that's local miscellaneous revenue. What represents that? It's about interest, indirect costs, pre-K, our best and brightest. That is recorded in our miscellaneous revenue. It's not part of our regular general fund. It's part of our miscellaneous dollars. And that's about $4 million. And that's restricted. As you know, best and brightest is specific for a particular purpose. This year, the district stands to receive approximately $288 million, which is about $8.5 million more than last year. That is not significant to take into consideration any increases to utilities, to general operating increases. It's about $8.5 million. Okay, that equates to about per student funding of $7,542 per student, and about a $75 more per student from last year. In our BSA, we're receiving about $75 more in addition to what we received last year.
Dr. Legutto, let me interrupt this because I want to emphasize that, because as Ms. Dixon referred to some of the comments that have been made on some of the social media pages, for some reason they are thinking that we have received $247 per student and you're saying it's $75, and I believe you told me 7 cents.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, I'm
So-
rounding with my numbers.
So where's
but
the
yes.
$247 that they are referring to? I don't know.
I do not know
Okay.
either. It is $75.
I just want to clarify that, because last year it was said that we received some amount, and what it really was 47 cents.
Correct.
And it was.
Right.
And so, I don't know where these numbers come from, but you have the numbers.
Yes.
And you are our finance person, and you get the numbers from Tallahassee. So I just want people to understand that just because you read it on Facebook doesn't make it the truth.
Correct.
If they have a question about how much we are receiving, they need to call you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Could you repeat the amount that we're receiving per student?
The amount that we are receiving per student is $7,542 per student.
Thank you.
And then we're getting an increase of 7507.
Yeah. And primarily, the increase is based on our enrollment of our FTE, an increase of FTE of about 478 FTEs. So we are projecting that we will grow for next year.
Certainly.
So,
Excuse me for interrupting. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. Thank you. Okay. So again, this is pertaining to our general fund. Let's see, state funding, categoricals. In addition to that, not in addition, part of the $299 million, I wanted to stress that a lot of these dollars that we do receive, it may seem to be quite a bit. However, part of approximately $68 million of those dollars are considered as categoricals. What that means is that those funds are specific for a purpose. Just like I said about the miscellaneous revenue, such as Best and Brightest, which is specific for specific for a reason to be spent. There are some other areas that we are required to spend our dollars, such as Safe Schools. Safe Schools, we must spend it on certain expenditures that's related to Safe Schools. Our instructional materials, we can only spend those dollars on purchasing books, materials for the classroom. Instructional materials for the classroom. We cannot use those funds for other purposes other than that. Teacher lead, as you know, that's our supply dollars. Those dollars are specific for classroom supplies for our teachers, and it goes directly to our teachers to purchase those supplies. I think that's about it. Okay. I just wanted to bring out those types of things. And of course, you'll hear all this at my July 23rd tentative budget meeting, so I'll go into more detail with that. As far as the other funds, I'll say debt service, we will spend about $5 million next year to repay our debt. Capital projects, we will earn about $20 million. And our federal is about $15 million for grants and about $7.1 in food service. Okay.
Did you want them to switch that slide? Yeah, it's still the same.
Huh? What? Wait. Okay. Now the next. Did I miss something? Okay. 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 So again, I wanted to dive into the use of our funds, the general fund primarily. The majority of funds, as one of the largest employer in Clay County, the majority of our funds are targeted towards compensation to our employees. As you can see, 81% of those dollars go towards salaries and benefits. 10% of those dollars go to purchase services. Purchase services are categorized as professional services, contracts, travel, repairs, rental, communications, and charter schools.
Dr. Legacco, on
Yes.
Where you have 91% of those funds going to compensation and benefits to employees, I thought we were closer
81.
to 80%.
81.
It's 91 on
Well,
here. At the bottom of your slide, 91% of operating funds directly support compensation and benefits to employees.
Yeah.
No, it should be 81.
Should be 81.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm
Because
sorry.
if you look at the top two, Ms. Gilhousen, it's 63 and 18. And so
No,
the
that's an
91 was just a-
oversight. I apologize for that,
That's a
but it should
typo.
be 81%. Okay, I'm sorry. No, I apologize. Okay, again, purchase services, that's about $32 million, and it goes to contract, professional service contracts, regular contracts, travel, repairs, rental, communication, everything you can think of that we need our funds to operate. Energy services, of course, that's about $9.2 million, which is 3% of the total budget. And of that, $7.8 million represents our electricity. Heating oil, diesel fuel, gasoline is about $1.3 million. So again, these are all estimated numbers at this time. I want to reiterate that. So. Materials and supplies includes about $8.7 million in adopted textbooks, $5.7 million in repairs, parts, tires, tubes, let's see. No, I'm sorry. Let me go back. My materials and supplies includes about $8.7 million for materials and supplies. Our adopted textbooks are considered as part of materials and supplies, so that's about $8.7 million. Repairs, tires, tubes, those things are about $900,000. There's a lot of other things, detail, and if you all would like to get more detailed information, I'll be happy to share that with you. I can provide that to you. Our capital outlay is about $4.9 million, which represents about 2% of the overall budget. That includes library books, AV, building and fixed equipment, motor vehicles, and of course our litigation. We are required to budget for litigation. It's about $1 million, and it represents about 1% of our budget. Oh, can I move on? Yes. Okay. Okay, now part of our general fund is the 1 mil, but it's not represented in that number is not represented in the total revenue of the 299. This is totally separate from our regular revenue. So our 1 mil, which is a general fund dollars, is primarily going to be used for safety and security. As you can see, 51% of those dollars will go directly to the police department. 9% is going to this safety and security, the Guardian. The hardening of our schools, which is part of the security, 32% will go to be spent on that, and other operational expenses, which will be at the board's discretion. And our total projected revenue will be about $12.1 million. Okay. Okay. Our use of capital funds. Again, TRIM requires that the district advertise a notice of tax for capital outlay. So funds that are generated through the capital must be recognized through the TRIM process, truth and millage. So we will be advertising how we're going to spend those dollars. Primarily, it provides for the complete listing of projects to be funded. They are restricted to capital projects as defined by our statute. Allowable expenditures are advertised as required, which includes, again, our debt of about $5 million. About 5.1, which is capital contributes about 2.4 million of those dollars. So our debt service is 12%. It's a repayment of the COPS issue for Lake Asbury Junior, Fleming Island High School, and Oakleaf High School. Our leases, we have several leases in our that we are required to continue to pay, and then of course we have a school bus lease. About 9% will go towards leases. District-wide capital equipment, which is about 1%. It's dollars that are used to support our leases for copying machines, our radio purchases, computers, Chromebooks, those types of things that we place in the classroom. Our property and casualty insurance, statutorily, we are allowed to pay for those, for that expense out of our capital budget, and it's about 1.1 million for next year, projected. Technology, we do use our capital dollars for. Of course, that is about 1.7 million, of which is our BCC is sales tax is considered capital dollars. So those dollars, 1.7 million, is targeted strictly for technology. So it's sort of restricted directly for that. Our school-wide facility projects, which is about 10.5 million. It includes some of the safety hardening of schools dollars. And again, you will see that project list when it's ready to be, and will be presented at the July 23rd meeting. And then finally, I put this summary of operating versus capital funds. Our general fund pretty much is it comes from our FEFP, which includes state and local revenue. And I actually placed the statutory authority that establishes how we receive our funds. And it's established by the legislature. And we're expected to receive about 299 million, and it's all operating. Our general fund, which is the 1 mil, section 1011.73, it's through the referendum, and it's about 12.1 million estimated, and it's used for operating specifically safety and security. Our LCIF, which is local capital improvement, that's 1.50 mils. The statutory authority is section 1011.71. It's legislature and required to be approved by the board. And that's estimated to generate about 18.1 million, and we are going to use it's strictly for fixed capital improvements and additions. We also receive CONDS, capital outlay and debt service. It's set by the legislature. I've given you the statutory authority. It's about 1 million, and it's also for capital outlay projects. Our PICO funds, we have typically received PICO dollars, and the legislature provides those dollars for us. For next year, they have decided to cut us 100%, so we will receive $0 for maintenance and renovations. And those dollars are strictly for maintenance, renovations, and repairs. And we have $0 this year. And we typically receive about $1 million in that fund.
I think you told me it was almost 900,000 last
Right.
year.
Right.
And then this year it's 0.
Yes, that is
for public schools.
correct. Correct.
Thank you.
And of course, I placed the sales tax there just so we can get a feel for, it will be capital. It is strictly for capital purchases. It is through a referendum, and the expected amount to generate is about $13.5 million, and it's strictly for fixed capital costs for construction, reconstruction, improvement, and technology. And then, of course, our BCC sales tax that we do receive, it's about 1.7 million. I believe this was voted many years ago through a referendum and through the BCC, and Clay County has targeted those funds specifically for our technology purchase. It is why we're able to put some of our Chromebooks into the classrooms, and some of the software that's out there in the classrooms for our students. And with that, I am done, unless you all have questions.
Well, the BCC tax, I can't let it slide without saying that sunsets, and we lose that as of the end of this year, correct?
In December.
December, so we will no longer be receiving the 1.7 million.
Correct.
Unless our superintendent can somehow get a memorandum of understanding with the commission, so
That's correct.
thank you.
So
But
they
it
will
is in our budget, so in December, depending on what happens, I will need to adjust our budget accordingly to ensure that we are able to operate.
Okay.
And all technology, the dollars that were targeted for technology will no longer
Right.
have.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Will the BCC continue to get that 1.7?
It will be part of, yes, it's
But
part
we
of
won't.
the, we
But
won't.
we
I
won't.
believe it's
But
an
right now, it's
interlocal
designated
agreement.
to come to us and we, for technology.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it might go away if we don't get an MOU. Okay, thank you, Dr. Legutko.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Kemp, this is our Assistant Superintendent for Operations, and please go for it.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Superintendent. The very first thing I want to do, because I really don't get an opportunity to do it very much, is to actually recognize our team, the operations team. Right. I'm going to start our slide going back. I'm going to start the deck going back to 2017, and just kind of preface what we're doing. But this is a collective effort all the time. Every day, it's a collective effort. They've had the opportunity to work and serve with me now since 2017, and we've had a great opportunity to learn. But I want to introduce them, and I want to thank them publicly because we don't get a chance to do that on a regular basis. And what they accomplish on a daily basis with the challenges that they face is amazing, and they do it. They do it willingly. They do it without fail, and we figure out ways to make that work. But I do want to introduce the operations team because they're a critical part. We're always in this together. First of all, our Director 1 for Maintenance is Mr. Phil Hans. He does an outstanding job. Thank you, Mr. Hans. Our Director of Code Enforcement, Mr. Todd Swetlin, he handles all the safety, security, all the code issues. Thank you, Todd. One of our senior project managers, Ms. Bryce Ellis, who helps us with the facilities project planning. One of our newest project managers, Mr. Jeff Marks, that's helping us try to execute some of the projects that we can get done. Our coordinator for planning and intergovernmental coordination, that y'all seen Mr. Fossa. He's done a lot of the growth presentations, but that's Mr. Jim Fossa. And bless his heart, that's Mr. Darrell Sweat with Director 1 of Transportation, and he has a great opportunity to serve every day. And dripping with class is Miss Susie Glover, the first for Food and Nutrition Services, and they worked on. But all of them work diligently every day against unbelievable odds, and I want to publicly thank them for what they do every day, and because you're the ones making the difference, make the stakeholders make it work in the schools. All right, so I'm going to get right on it. You guys know I'm not shy. You've heard me talk before. You've heard me here in the workshops. This is my opportunity to tell you a few things in my first 2.5 years here. So let's go back to 2017. Upon my arrival, February 2017, I want to preface this with saying I was shocked when I came in, and kind of in disbelief, and not in the way that you might think. I've had the opportunity to serve in different places, have an opportunity to serve in different organizations and run different ways. But I was really shocked and in disbelief regarding some of the issues and the challenges that we were facing. We went through about a 3-month period, and y'all can you can nod. We went through about a 3-4 month period where it was a help me understand, help Mike Kemp help me understand. What's going on with that? Why do we not have the capacity to do what we need to do? What's the deal with the funding? How did the facility condition get to this point? Those were issues that we had honest conversations about. We call it scrimmaging in operations. We scrimmage all the time to find out what we got to do to get a solution. We talked about operational capacity. And when you learn things in the first 3 months, for example, we're operating with the same team, same number of team now with 43 schools and 50 facilities supporting central office and ancillary facilities. The same number of team now than we had when we had 20 schools. So the system has doubled with growth in time, but the support for that has never happened. So I really was in shock and disbelief. Now, when you work for a guy like Addison Davis, the superintendent immediately charged us with the team and tasked us with the needs. As he went out and looked at schools, he'd call me and say, Kemp, what's going on? Kemp, how in the world did this happen? Kemp. So, of course, that translates to the operations team. So, he charged us with looking at the needs and creating a needs assessment and what's the plan. He always asks 2 questions. It doesn't matter whether it's finance, HR, curriculum instruction, climate, culture, whatever. He always has, number 1, what is needed? What do we got to do what's the strategy to fix it? How do we begin to reverse it? So immediately this is all the way back in 2017 now. In 2017, we immediately started looking at the needs assessment for the school. But I can't tell you and emphasize enough. I want to say, forget Houston for a second. When it comes to the age of the facilities and what we're dealing with on a daily basis, Clay has a problem. And then no one's been shy about saying that all along. I mean, this is not something that's happened overnight. This has happened over time. We have had deferred maintenance issues. You're talking about old, outdated facilities. They absolutely have to be renovated and upgraded. Now, I'm going to talk more in a bit about how we came up with the $300 million in the master plan project, but we have approximately $318 million in identified need as of right now. That is subject to change every day because every day something breaks. Every day. Our average facility age is approximately 38 years old. You know, that's not bad, you don't think. But remember, we've got some approaching 91. I think Orange Park Elementary is 91 years old this year. 25% of the schools that we're trying to support every day are 50 years or older. Think about that. Original stuff, never been, there's never any preventative or replacement cycles because the funding just was never there to do that. So the deferred maintenance over time has just compounded the problem. So you heard Dr. Legutko talk about the funding and our restrictions on funding. We've had state funding cuts over time. We used to get PICO new growth money. We used to get, around 2008, they cut that. 7-8 was the last year we got it. They cut it to zero. You heard her say, and I learned at the last workshop, if you saw my face, I'm not responsible for what my face does sometimes when people talk, but I can tell you, they cut us to zero. Last year we got $855,000 in PICO maintenance. The state cut us to zero. That $855,000 divided over our schools is about $17,000 per school if everything broke equally. Now, a school like Fleming Island uses that in toilet paper every year. So think about $17,000 per school for the maintenance. Now our director, Mr. Hans, we had to go back and look and see what projects have to be cut or bumped again this year to make up for the loss of funding. Impact fees are low. People think, oh gosh, we have impact fees. Impact fees are restricted to new growth. You heard her say it can only be used for new growth. We get about $5 million in impact fees. I'm going to go over that in a minute. We get about $5 million a year in impact fees. Those are restricted specifically for new growth. A portion of that is used for debt service. A portion of that has to be on new growth. Local capital improvement fund, she mentioned the approximately $18 million this year. When you take away the LCIF and all the reclassification, all the things that we have to do, we're going to end up with about $8 million. So to try to support 50 facilities. That's about $165,000 for the year to try to support the school system with the capital projects. So really what I'm saying is, forget Houston, Clay has a problem. It's been reactionary. We're in a reactionary mode all the time because it's a crisis management mode. It's what broke today. Every morning at 7:30 a.m., any of you are welcome to join me. Every day at 7:30 a.m., we have a stand-up. They don't always like it. We have a stand-up. I call it a stand-up meeting because we don't do meetings. We don't have time. We've got to work. So stand-up tells me what's wrong. I find out every morning at 7:30 a.m. what broke last night, what chiller's down, what handler's down, what do we got to do, what's the crisis. So, I'm gonna shock you here in a minute with some photos, but I just want you to understand this is the challenge and the opportunities. When I say Clay has a problem with the existing facilities, we really do. And I understand, I have a greater understanding how we got there. Now, other problems, challenges, opportunities, what did you ever like to call them? We have over 900, when I got here, it was 980 plus portables. I don't even know what to tell you about that. 980 portables. They're inefficient, unsightly, impossible to harden from a safety perspective. They're issues. We'll talk more about it. We're third most in the state. Miami-Dade, Orange County, Orlando, and by the way, they have 4 times the student population, and we have, we had 980 plus portables. I'll talk about that concern in a minute.
Do you mean to tell me that we have more portables than Duval County?
At the time, when we had 980, we were third most in the state. That's correct.
That is amazing.
And the issue is when you look at Miami, we were third. Miami-Dade was first, and Orange County, Orlando was second. As a matter of fact, I was speaking to a reporter who happened to call after this information got out, and she said she went to Miami-Dade and she spent her whole time in portables in Miami-Dade. So it is not the most optimal situation for our students. Time has changed. We have to address that. Portables are a concern from our operations standpoint. New growth. I'm not going to talk much about the new growth tonight because we've talked about that before, but we have in addition to our $318 million that I'm going to identify for you in a second, we have $300 million in new growth that we know that's coming. You know, there's a need for 5 to 7 schools in the next 10 years. 15,500 plus new homes coming in the next 10, 6,600 students coming in. You know, the new growth is coming. So we have those additional needs as well for new growth. So let's talk about reality. I'm not here to talk just about Clay. I mean, we have the same challenges all other districts face. They're facing the same thing, old, worn-out facilities in need of renovation. They face the same state cuts we face. You know, they're losing funding as well. Some of them are facing new growth. I can tell you, we're projected to be the #1 growth, the highest growing county in the state in the next 5 to 10 years because of that First Coast Expressway coming through and what that's going to do for South Clay and Southwest Clay. All you have to do is take a look across the river and see what's happened with Rivertown. You'll find about we've talked about that growth. That growth is coming. That growth will not be stopped unless we hinder it ourselves in the sense that people will possibly choose not to come here because of the condition of facilities. So the reality is we have the same challenges of all the other districts. No funding. I got it. We have limited funding, and the funding we have is restricted for specific purposes, and we can only use it for X. So there's this old saying, y'all have heard me say it, authority without capacity is futility. You know, we have to have even though all of us in here in positions, we got to have capacity to be able to execute the mission and solve some of these problems. Now, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, no one likes to have these difficult conversations required to meet the current needs. I got it. There's never a right time. There's never going to be a right time to discuss this. And it's probably one of the reasons it's never been addressed, because it's never the right time. But I can promise you this, the challenge remains. The challenge is going to happen. I mean, the challenges will be there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether you're for it, for against it, I'm for a solution. Whoever sits in this chair behind me, whoever sits in the chairs behind you, they can vote you in, vote you out, vote the BCC in, vote them out. We have the same challenge. And at that First Coast Expressway, that summit the other day, every organization spoke, and everybody recognized we've got an issue. Our district spoke, Mr. Davis spoke, the county spoke, CCUA talked about their challenges with infrastructure, AT&T and the infrastructure with what we have to do to set up infrastructure to deal with the growth. That growth is coming. It's not going to be stopped. And while we're doing that, the facilities get older every day. Something is breaking every morning, and I found out at stand-up. So let's take a look at some of this. So remember, I told you we end up with about $8 million, and it's about $160,000, $170,000 per school for the year. What you're looking at is, you'll see a bunch of pictures. Now, I am not showing these pictures to shame our team. I'm showing you the pictures because crises happen every morning that bump projects that force us to go take care of HVAC, plumbing, and roofing issues that are just failing. Here you're looking at rooftop units. We're going to fly through a bunch of pictures very quick, so just Ms. Bola, hang in there with me. We're gonna be flying through some pictures here. This is the rooftop unit at Orange Park High School, and there you go. That's the other part of that. Just that project alone is over $1.2 million. Now there you go. There's more than 25% of what we have for capital available for that particular, if you take $170,000 a school. That's $1.2 million just for the chillers to try to replace the Orange Park High School rooftops. Our facilities are aging. They're rusted. The compressors on the ground. The RTUs are original. The RTUs are rooftop units. The rooftop units are old. None of the HVAC and mechanical systems were replaced on the schedule that they should have been replaced. People think Fleming Island is brand new. They think this is a Taj Mahal. You understand, in 2003, we're coming up now where all the mechanical systems should be replaced. Coming up 15 to 18 years, this should be replaced. They start failing. They wear out. They're old. We can't get parts for them. You're looking right there at the boiler at Clay Hill Elementary School. The boiler, it burned up last week, by the way. It burned up last week. And just this piece right here is $50,000. And you can't get parts for it. You can't fix it. You can't find it. And if you do, you're putting Band-Aids on Band-Aids. Take a look at the RT units here, additional RT units. There's the air handler at Clay Hill. Old. Companies don't exist anymore. Can't get the parts. Very expensive to replace. Rusted out motors, RTUs actually falling apart, rusting out at the bottoms. You can see just from the evidence of these pictures, our facilities are in dire need of assistance. Water fountains throughout schools, we try to we repair these as they're reported in work orders, and we keep working, but we're putting Band-Aids on Band-Aids, and after a while, you run out of Band-Aids. When you talk about the portable city, and you're looking at, right now, you're looking at the overhead walkways, the covered walkways, they're rusted out, they leak, they create drainage problems, safety issues. We have all of the gutter systems that are failing us. You have, just things that are falling apart. Miles and miles of fencing that need to be replaced. Not in addition to, and we're talking about new fence. We're doing new fences with safety and security, but we also have the existing fences that we have to go back and take a look at. Lockers. We talked about lockers a while ago. I think somebody mentioned those a while ago. These things are just old, outdated. We need to replace them. That's the intercom system on the left. You're only missing 2 cups and a string, I'm pretty sure. That was probably the first, that was probably the second rendition of talking to somebody long distance. And look at our classrooms. Our classrooms are old, outdated. We've tried to address these things. Bathrooms, original plumbing. Think about going to a 91-year-old bathroom, okay? Some of you went and attended those restrooms. So these restrooms, that was not meant the way it came out. That was not meant the way it came out. But some of you understand what I'm talking about. But our kids deserve, restrooms that are clean and inviting and updated and relevant. We've got holes in the bottom and things wearing out, things that are out of order. And people say, well, why don't you just fix it? Why didn't y'all? Where's the priority? The priority has always been there. It gets bumped because of another critical crisis. Here's more RTUs, another compressor on the bottom. You got facades that are falling apart. One of the things the superintendent, we wanted, our principals too, they want it to look good. They want it to look nice. The facades are falling apart. Over time, they've just aged out. Original windows that are really need to be replaced and broken in some situations. Cafeteria floors, you really can't see it. I'm going to try to point it out here, but we have cracks without killing Terry Dennis. We have foundational cracks, and there you can kind of see it right there. If there's foundational cracks taking place all in the facilities in the older schools that we have, it's just a challenge. There's some carpet for you that is probably older than the majority of the people in this room, and then we have outdated facilities there. Roof leaks, that's our reality every day. Erosion problems. There is an unintended consequence for being so cheap when we build schools up front. We might value engineer up front, and we put the cheaper stuff underground. We had 16, 17 storm drain failures last year, unexpected from the tropical storms and the hurricanes. And you got pictures here where you're looking at some of these pictures where our storm drains are above grade, above ground. There's little holes are failing. They have little sinkholes that happen. You're looking at the long jump at Fleming Island High School right here. It's a water feature at this point. Maybe you can use it for rowing or something else. This is the track at Orange Park Elementary School. Orange Park High School. This happened to us this year. Unexpected, the damage from what we experienced, and this kind of stuff is not. We don't get reimbursed for this stuff. We have to go fix this. Physical education classes use this. It's a safety issue. It's a security issue. That's our reality. Look at some of the drainage issues. That's Fleming Island Elementary School on the bottom there. Anytime it rains, anytime we have issues, we have drainage issues all over the place. Our courts, the surface courts, are original. They need to be resurfaced just for safety alone. Our risk management person sees that middle slide, and trust me, she calls me quite a bit. She sees that slide. It's just an opportunity for an accident. And then look at the basketball goal. Mr. Davis, you can make that shot. There is no rim.
There is nothing.
I don't even want to talk about portables. This is our reality. This is just one school. Now, I understand the strategy, and I'm not here to be disrespectful to anyone that served in this capacity, because I have a new understanding of how this happened. But the strategy of thinking that the neighborhoods would age out and you wouldn't need the brick and mortar space anymore, and we didn't want to invest in there, that is not, I mean, we're 91 years in, our oldest school is still going. We're not into a situation where we need to close any schools for enrollment. So the maturing neighborhood strategy did not pan out. But we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds in portables, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. And the reality of the portables are they're high maintenance, they're hard to maintain, they're inefficient, they're just difficult. They might have been a convenient strategy, but it's a different time now. And the one thing that concerns me the most about the portables is no matter how hard our team works, and I did not mean to miss Mr. John Ward for safety and security, but one of the things that concerns me the most about our portables is that it's very difficult to harden them or secure them. You know, God forbid, God forbid. You don't even have to come on the campus and could do some significant damage. We have to do portable reduction. We have to start getting rid of the portables. So the reality is, here's some other embarrassing photographs. And I'm not doing, this is real. Bathrooms that are broke, ceilings that are falling in, and those are shop ceilings, and how in the world did it get that bad? How did it happen? It was always an intent to try to do something with it, and an air conditioner broke, plumbing broke, roofing leak, something bumped it. Out-of-date hallways. Talk about IS for a second. Mr. Bunkley and his team and Mr. McCauley, I tell you what, they've done an unbelievable job in the last 2.5 years correcting some of the issues and some of the challenges that they faced, but providing network. When in 2017, when we got here, we didn't have Wi-Fi in all of our schools. Help me understand why principals were doing fundraisers to try to buy a wireless access point so they could decide which hallway gets access for the internet and which one doesn't. That was 2017. Thanks to Mr. Bunkley and his team and our team, we teamed up, we got together, we combined, we do what we need to do. The system's lit up today. I mean, they should have Wi-Fi. Other schools, districts had Wi-Fi in 2000, for goodness sake. There's no excuse for us to have been in that situation, so we correct these issues as we go. So, here's the reality. I mean, that's just a sample of the pictures. Same challenge as other districts. We have the same challenge as other districts. And for anyone to think that we don't, if anyone thinks that, we don't, they're just unbelievably in denial. And I encourage them in a respectful way. I encourage them, come walk with Mr. Hans or spend a day in maintenance, or come start at stand-up and find out what's broke and find out how his day gets shifted from crisis to crisis. Now, we're not alone. 24 other districts have had to have the tough conversations that we're starting to have, regardless of strategy. Those 24 districts have already walked down this path. Alachua, Bay, Brevard, Calhoun, Escambia, Flagler, Hernando, Highlands, Hillsborough, Jackson, Lee, Leon, Liberty, Manatee, Martin, Monroe, Orange County, Osceola, Polk, St. John, St. Lucie, Santa Rosa, Volusia, and Washington counties. They've all already been down this road. They've all had to have these tough conversations about what we're going to do. And I can promise you, as hard as those pictures were to show about the reality of our existing facilities, I don't think there's a person I've run into that doesn't agree that our kids deserve better. Our teachers deserve better. Our employees deserve relevant facilities that are dependable and reliable. So, our goal every day is to go out and try to execute that mission. Boy, my mission is almost unobtainable, and they have to live it. Everything works every day. Boy, just think about that. We could get to that point. So let's talk about the possibility of what a half-cent sales tax or what a revenue stream, whether it's this or any other stream. We looked at the Superintendent Davis. He showed you all the options. What are options? We looked at general fund. General fund's not an option. You can bond out. When I last checked with Dr. Lagutko, the most we could probably bond out would be what, 100 million to bond out to build new schools. The problem with bonding out to build the new schools is you have to repay that debt and debt service. That debt service comes a lot of the time from impact or new growth or LCIF or other areas that impact our ability to take care of existing schools. So let's talk about Ed First for a second, the needs assessment that we put together. I want to talk to you about the goals about that and why 24 other districts are having to take a look at a solution. And I will encourage anyone to have the conversation with me. I'm all fine with people saying we anti this, anti we can't do this, can't do that, can't do the bonding, can't do the general fund. We do not have enough capital dollars. The state cut us. They don't want to do the HACCP. The millage is limited and what it can be used for, and it doesn't meet the need. I need a solution. We need a solution to the problem. So one of the things about the revenue strategy and why 24 districts have looked at it is we want to provide the best. We're talking about elevating Clay, and we've done great things, and I commend our teachers and our administrators and our kids for what they've been able to do in the facilities they're in. If we're going to attract and recruit the best, if we're truly going to elevate and compete with number one, if we're truly going to make Clay County the best place to live and work, we're going to have to start looking at an equitable revenue strategy that makes it work. When we did the needs assessment, and I'm going to show you this in a second, when we did the needs assessment, we decided, okay, what would we do? We called it Ed First, Education First, because it's FIR as a Facilities Infrastructure Restricted Sales Tax. 24 districts have done this because it's a more equitable way to share the responsibility of what's coming. And providing safe and relevant facilities for eligible businesses. The $5 for eligible $1,000 is one of the best ways to get it done. Other reasons that they pursued it is because of the impact on local development and what it's going to do for the schools. We put that back in our schools. Local development and local business participation is also a win. So 24 districts before us have seen this as a possible solution. Not a popular one. Got it. Understand. It's not the most popular, but we need the school district could receive the local support that it needs to fix these existing issues and address new growth. Main thing is it would not burden further property owners. It's not just about property owners carrying the load, and revenue reinvested in local economic development. I want you to think about something. When we go across the bridge and you go to the St. Augustine outlet malls and you go to the beach for the day and you go and you stop and you go spend any dollar anywhere, you're supporting that school district. With the First Coast Expressway coming in, why would we not consider as an option, after we review all the others, why would we not consider as an option setting up a revenue stream that's going to support our children and our facilities and give us the opportunity to compete and be relevant? The power of a penny. I've been asked the question, what's the value as of right now, what is the value of 1 cent in Clay County? This comes directly from the Florida Department of Revenue, and when you take a look at it, 1 penny generates $26.9 million. Now, this was the estimate as of the end of September 30, 2019. Every year, Florida DOR gives another one. But a half cent is would be 13.4. $13.4 million a year for 30, for however long the term would be. We were looking at a 30-year because of the needs, over $600 million in needs. So our capital development project was a 30-year plan development validation. So we did a survey. This team, our team, it wasn't just me. Our team did surveys. We got school administration to give us surveys. I met with each one of you on the needs assessment, and we looked at what the problems were, what was reported. Each one of my team, Phil had all of the trades, all of our existing trade individuals, our certified trades individuals, HVAC, plumbing, roofing, carpentry. We looked at the facility school by school, and we made an assessment based on what do we need to do to currently fix our facilities.
Dr. Kemp, may I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you go back one slide?
Sure.
So is this the slide with the extended half-cent sales tax for the BCC that sunsets, that it ends December? Yes. And the 2.372, the $2 million for the school board, Dr. Lagutko said we're currently receiving 1.7. What is that?
That's correct.
8.8%. So So we're losing that. So that's the chart. That'll be the new amount. As of January 1, we'll receive 0. That chart on the left is showing that we're out of it. Okay.
You need to speak into the mic. We can't hear you.
But all the municipalities continue to receive their portion of that sales tax that's been increased for the next 25 years. Only the school district has been eliminated from it. Oh,
Well, will be if we do not receive
An
the revenue.
MOU.
an MOU, correct. So that's our technology money. Thank you.
Okay, so when you take that figure, that was the figure from Ford and Associates we received from last year, and you look at a 30-year plan development, we went through those then. That's where we came up with the 308. We went school by school and looked at that, and on what our current facilities need was. As a matter of fact, Bryce Todd, if you just, I know how much you love spreadsheets, Miss Stoddard. But I want you to see, we went school by school and we looked at needs. And people said, well, how'd you come up with this need? You know, first of all, we went through there. It wouldn't fit. You wouldn't see it if I tried to provide it to you on the screen. It's too small to see. But we went school by school, looked at age of facility, number of instructional units, what needed to be, what needed to be looked at, what funding source did we have. And as of now, we have $318 million that we've identified. Now, there's a big asterisk next to that. And look at it's based on the current need. It's subject to change because every day something else breaks. Okay? So that's the current facility need versus the revenue stream at a fixed 13.46 million that you saw there. We could generate $403 million. That's no growth. Now we know that revenue stream is going to grow over time, but $403 million, 30 years is what that would develop. So when you take what we've identified currently, our team's identified in needs, and you look at the new growth, you're at $618 million. So regardless of the asterisk in the figure and the current needs, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that even with this revenue stream, it doesn't cover the needs that we're going to have to address over time. And remember, we're talking a long period. Things will have to be replaced. That's good. Y'all did a great job. So how'd you get the $318 million? What did it mean? The proposed projects in that master on that spreadsheet are safety security upgrades. All of the proposed projects have to fall within a 4-bucket area, so to speak. It has to either be a safety security issue, it has to be a new construction issue, renovation repair, or technology. By referendum, those are protected. It has to be that. The projects that generate that $318 million are safety security upgrades by school, capital improvement, permanent classroom additions, portable reduction. By the way, 8 classrooms cost us approximately $2 million to build a permanent structure. So I want you to think about that. So portable reduction, new growth construction, 7 schools, classroom technology improvements. Folks, as hard as the IS team has tried, I'm going to tell you, every school deserves to have the newest technology that our newest schools have and to be prepared to engage kids. A ViewSonic projector and a pull-down white screen is not it's not the 21st century technology that we want to provide our kids. Energy efficiency improvement, building envelope, that's roof, ceiling, lighting, anything that envelops the building. So you got building envelope, mechanical, HVAC controls. Every day, HVAC control failures, plumbing upgrades, you saw the pictures, food nutrition service upgrades, you'll see it. Educational program improvements, classroom furniture replacement. A personal help me understand, because I could not understand why we were purchasing equipment off of Gov Deals to save money. I'm all about saving money, but we're buying other district stuff they're getting rid of surplus and getting rid of old. It wasn't good enough for their kids, and we were taking it. That's not gonna. I can't be a part of that. So educational program, our kids deserve better. Educational program improvements, classroom furniture replacement. Our transportation facility out there was valued engineered when it was bought. They cut it down. We've grown. The fleet's grown. They work out of portables as well. So these master projects all fall within the 4 areas of the referendum. Now, when I say facilities, infrastructure, restricted sales tax, it's restricted to those 4 areas and can't be touched. Very quickly, Go back over this again. New schools needed. We know we got to do School A at Two Creeks, School R at 315 within 2 years based on the new growth. We know that we've got to look at, how are we going to look at the growth south of us? How are we going to look at what's happening south and southwest of us? The property that we own already. What can we do for portable reduction? What can we do in time? The immediate need growth south with the Governor's Park coming in, that Nocatee and how it's going to change the South. We're looking at 1 elementary school down there, if not 2. So 5 to 7 schools in the next 10 years. You saw how we developed it. Now, I'm not going to go school by school. I'm going to save you that. But I will tell you the feeder pattern investment that we're looking at and the average age of the feeder pattern. I'm prepared, if the board directs the superintendent, Mr. Davis, you direct our team, I'm prepared to show how this needs assessment impacts every school individually and how it impacts the feeder pattern. So take a look at this slide. Keystone Heights has 2 feeders, McRae and Keystone Heights Elementary. The number of instructional units, IUs, instructional unit class, 157. Total projected upgrades just for those 157 classrooms is about $25 million, an average of 8.3 per school. Average age at Keystone Heights, those facilities is 44 years old, and they're all original. It's falling apart. Stuff's falling apart. And
Preaching to the choir.
Plumbing's falling apart. It's just the way it is. Clay High School, 48 years of average age. Orange Park, 54 average age. Middleburg, 32. Ridgeview, 34 years of age. Fleming Island is an average age of 30. Oakleaf is an average age of 19. And you talk about the feeder schools that feed it. So the elementaries, the junior highs that feed the high schools. That's what came up with feeder pattern investment. So what does that look like from a pie shape? Let's look at it differently. You can kind of see based on the number of instructional units, the number of classrooms you have to upgrade impacts your figure. Average investment need per school. When you take a look at what the cost is per school, you can see it works out relatively equitably based on the number of classrooms that have to be upgraded. Okay, so in closing, I'm about to close. We called it education. We coined education first for a reason. We really need to put education first. The kids first, the teachers first, our environments first. We really want to create the ideal teaching and learning environment. Referendum protected projects. First, facilities, infrastructure, restricted sales tax. By statute, if it was supported, and we were blessed enough for it to be supported by the community, it can't be it's referendum protected. It's for capital projects only. It cannot be used for salaries. It can't be used for operational expenses. The only way I would be involved with it, I've done it in other states, but the only way I've been involved with it would have an external citizens oversight committee. An oversight committee that validates that the projects that we bring forward are directly aligned to the referendum. That's the oversight. It's about being above the line. It's about having that oversight committee. And for me, it's about trying to position to help this leadership team position Clay to be relevant and competitive for the next 50 years. It's also about promises made, promises kept. A lot of people don't know me. That's fine. Some of you do. I do. We execute the mission. We execute what we said we're going to do. We make those promises and we keep them. But I will say this, you can have the best plan. I can have the best spreadsheet. I can have the best plans available. I can look at the best projections based on the data that I have. But vision without implementation is hallucination. I can't explain why the tough conversation hasn't happened. Till now. I just know that this team is not one that is going to accept that as an excuse. We work for a no excuses leader. That how can we fix it? What do we got to do to make it happen? So we can have the best visions, but at some point we got to look at capacity. And whether it's this revenue stream or if it's something different, fine. But what's the solution? And I welcome the scrimmage. What else can we do? You heard Dr. Legutko say, we're limited on what we're allowed to provide. But instead of those ugly pictures, I want to leave you some good ones. Safety and security upgrades. Imagine, if you talk about vision, all new fire alarm systems, we're working on surveillance. When I got here in 2017, Not even 40% of the schools had surveillance. I can tell you 100% of our schools right now have some type of surveillance. When I first asked how come we do not have surveillance in our schools in 2017, when I asked that question, you know what the response was? We don't have those problems here. Well, let me explain something to you.
Wow.
I want to explain something to you. Wake up. And then when I found out we didn't have anything worth stealing in some of the classrooms, now I figure out why we don't have it. So safety and security upgrades is a problem. HVAC, this is what your chillers and your handlers and controls should look like. Brand new, ready to go, relevant, efficient to provide ideal teaching and learning environments. Technology in classrooms, upgraded safe equipment, resurfacing the courts to set those facilities up to take care of our community's children for the next 50 years. Plumbing upgrades, you know, redoing every bathroom in the district. Water conservation, filtered water stations at every school, and what we're working on with that. Kitchen and cafeteria improvements. Every school deserves to have this type of environment as for cafeterias. I'll end with information services. Information services, you know, they've done a great job. Technology's done a great job, but we have to, having been a former CTO, we have got to understand that we have to be a reliable and efficient organization and be able to provide a network that's robust with redundancy, that can withstand redundancy. So, bottom right-hand picture with the children, that everything works every day from an infrastructure perspective as well, and that the main customer is not impacted when it comes to the opportunity to learn. So our EdFirst team, it's not just been me, it's been multiple individuals that are involved and had input, as well as board members that have saw the master project plan. It was a needs assessment that has now turned into a possible opportunity to look at how do we start solving the problem. So I figured I'd go ahead and close with the questions that I've had just in the last week. So let's just go ahead and just go ahead and address them. You know, I keep hearing, you know, what is the rush? You know, I keep hearing that. I hear it. Well, the existing facilities are breaking every day. So, you know, and people say, so what? They've been breaking for 50 years. They can break, you know, they can break another year. Got it. But those existing facilities are breaking every year, and it knocks another project. The growth needs that we're going to have in the next 10 years, those problems compound daily. You know, and the problem's not going to correct itself. So if this is not the solution, what is? Please, somebody can smarter than me can educate me on what other options we have. I get this one. Well, why is the board or the superintendent or the board and superintendent, why do they want to tax the community? I keep it. Why they just want to tax the community? I can promise you, the 24 districts that I just mentioned, nobody wants to have that conversation. And I just want to remind the public that neither the board, none of you, the superintendent, Mr. Davis, not you, BCC, not the BCC, you don't tax the community. We're at a state where the community needs to decide whether or not they want to help us provide relevant and up-to-date and safe facilities and get rid of portables and position us for the next 50 years. The board and the superintendent or the BCC doesn't decide. Community can decide. If the community supports us, we will execute it like we said we're going to execute it. If the community doesn't want to support us, that's, you know, we will continue to, this team will continue to find a way to put the Band-Aid on the Band-Aid on the Band-Aid on the Band-Aid on the Band-Aid. But I feel for them because it's tough and we can't do it. I get this one. Why don't we use existing funding sources? You just heard Dr. Lakutko, and she just spelled it out for you. There is no secrets. There is no stash of money anywhere. There is no extra money anywhere. The state cuts. Limited capacity. We're limited. Authority without capacity is futility. What about impact fees? Oh, they have impact fees. What about that? Folks, only generates $5 million annually right now. Okay? $5 million annually. We have some of the lowest impact fees around that can only be used for new growth. You cannot use impact fees for maintenance and repair. We have $600 million in need. So since I can't use them on maintenance and repair, we have $300 million in new school need, right? It takes 60 years. Do the math. 5 goes into 600 million. 300 million, excuse me. 5 goes into 300 million, 60 years. Can't use it for the repair. That's 60 years. It's not doable. I don't know where, but you want to, I have lost my,
There we go.
okay, there you go. I get this one. Well, I heard they're not using, I mean, this is the, are we using existing funds responsibly? I challenge anyone who says that we're not. That we're audited every year. Dr. Legutko's team is audited every year. We're audited. It's there for everyone to see. We're restricted. They think we have dollars that we don't because we can't use those dollars for that reason by statute. So CCDS, we're audited annually. I would encourage anyone that has that concern, like contact Dr. Legutko. Look at the audits. It would be there. Why can't you use the millage? Do the math. Millage would only generate $48 million. We have $600 million in need. $600 million is greater than $48 million, and that's a limited revenue stream. Can the school board redirect this revenue source? I've heard this all, they just want to get their hands on it. They want to change. Let me tell you what, no, you can't. And if I had to put my MC Hammer pants on and dance around, no, you can't touch that part. Once the referendum,
Hey, I'm still looking for the new cars that the board members were provided. Where are they?
Once again, it's referendum protected for capital projects. Can the school board get their hands on it, redirect the revenue source once it No. We execute the mission. Can the union, I've heard this. Can the union just wants it so they can do salaries and no, you can't do it. So let's set that to red. Can it be used for operational expenses? No. We're just going to go out, hire everybody, give everybody. No, you can't. It's capital projects only. Will oversight be provided? Yes, because it's the only way I'd be a part of it.
That's right.
So with that said, I would like to be a part of some type of solution. So when we walk through schools and teachers and kids and not just the parents that have contacted me, but our principals say, we need help. Can you help us fix this? I so much want to be able to help that problem. And they deserve it. Our kids deserve the same opportunities that all these other districts are having to look at these tough things. So with that, I hope that I've been respectful. I want to apologize. I'll apologize up front if I've offended anyone that's for us of how it got this way. My team is awesome. Their teams are awesome, and they try their best every day. But we're getting to a point to where the Band-Aids on Band-Aids on Band-Aids. I thank you for your time, and be prepared to execute whatever mission the superintendent directs, because that's what we do every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Before I bring it to the board, I'm going to do the cards now. Mr. Otto. Now, this talk is about the sales tax only.
Great, thank you. It's not on. There it goes. All right, thank you. James Otto, 2904 to 2910 Blanding Boulevard, otherwise known as Highway 21. I would have to say I'd agree with the half cent and probably even a full cent. The other part I kind of wanted to touch on, I mean, I think it would be relevant. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to do with the total issue of the monies, the one bucket of money. The $100 per property assessment, I don't think that's fair to the landlords and the people of the community. I think we need to look at a personal property tax for things that are titled like other states do, and that would help in this matter that you're speaking of now to fix these problems in the schools. Anybody that has a boat, an ATV, a car, everything is assessed every year and you pay a tax on the things that you own. And I think that, you know, the county is stepping over the line and building parks and not taking care of their due diligence in the safety of this community. Like when the little girl got killed in Fleming Island because there's not enough lighting. You know, these are serious issues that need to be looked at, and like the gentleman saying, the money's just not there. How are you gonna get this money? And it's up to the people to do so. And I would ask the legislators to look seriously at a personal property tax. You know, if you own a new Lincoln, then you pay more than the guy that's driving a 20-year-old car. You know, that's just a fair tax for the community. You know, running our kids into each other, and, you know, the Parkland shooting, that was 2 football rooms that were targeted. You know, we got to look at the overall health of our schools. If we need to get rid of football so that we can have safe schools and spend the money the right way, then that's what we need to do. I put in a public records request 2 months ago, and I have yet to receive it. You know, and
anything more important than our education of our children in Clay County. I'm a school bus driver of 13 years, a Clay County property taxpayer of 23 years, the grandmother of 2 granddaughters who graduated from Ridgeview High, a grandson currently enrolled in Lakeside Junior, and great-grandmother of a 5-year-old who is about to start kindergarten in our district at Lakeside Elementary. As you can see, I have some skin in this game from multiple fronts. When it comes to the decisions the board makes, it affects my life and the lives of my family members. I came mainly tonight to express my support for this sales tax referendum. This county, as we have seen by Dr. Kemp's excellent pictures, is in a desperate need of funds. We need to act now. It has been put off. It has been kicked down the road time after time after time. And all that results in is more problems, no solutions. Regardless of what people have done in the past, you all are here now. Think, please, of why you ran for school board. I have spoken to many of you individually over the past few years, and I know that in your hearts you all want to help the children of Clay County. Keep that in mind. There is never going to be a better time than now to act. The longer we put it off, the worse it gets. And none of us know how many more opportunities we will have individually to make a real difference. This is your chance, regardless of what happens when elections come around, to do something now that is meaningful and will last for a good long time. Don't pass up this opportunity. You have already made changes since our last election in the direction the county district is taking towards its employees. It's very encouraging, but it must be ongoing. It must be followed up with continued efforts.
Excuse me.
I'm not a big football fan, but I have watched a few football games over my lifespan. And to make a kind of simple analogy, we all cheer with yardage gains and first downs. But it's the follow-through, the consistent long-term effort that wins the game. That's what we're in, folks, a very important game. Let's put Clay County on the road to the championships. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very eloquent. You did great. Rebecca Smith.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Smith, and my address is on file. All you know me. I speak from the heart. This is about our children. It's about our children. Are you going to stand up for our children and give them decent schools to go to? Listen, we understand that we've lost funds, but I think we're aiming a little low. I think we need to get a 1 cent tax. After seeing his presentation of how much money it was going to bring in, that ain't hitting the bucket good. We're going to get one shot because you keep going back to the taxpayer. They're going to turn a deaf ear on you. So if you're going to do it right. I know some of you are up for re-election, but you got to do what's right. Nobody likes taxes. I don't like them, but I'm willing to pay it because it's a need here. We want to be proud of our school system, and we are proud of our school system, and we can do better. I would like to take this time to thank Mr. Addison Davis, Mr. Michael Camp, for our school buses and this board. We got air conditioners coming. Praise God.
Thank goodness.
It's never so scary to look up in the mirror and see one of our children leaning over, and you're calling their name out and they don't respond. That's scary. But I thank you for solving that problem. Them pictures, that's shameful. But it's not your fault because you didn't have the money. The money's not been there. We're getting cut taxes. I mean, what was that, Pinco? Or,
Pico.
yeah. You losing that money? And if the citizens of Clay County want to be upset about this, you need to talk to people in Tallahassee. They put us in this spot. We didn't ask for this, but we have an obligation to do what is right. It's not always popular, but you need to do what's right. Because we, the voters, we're watching. You ask Mr. Kemp to do a job in his team, give him the stuff to do it with. This patching up business is insane. It's a waste of money. We need to fix the problems.
Okay, the next speaker, Mary Holtkamp. While she's coming up, Miss Bola, Mrs. Bola, can you see and hear now?
Yes, everything's fine. Thank you, Ms. Studdard.
Okay, let us know if you get frozen again.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay. Yes, Ms. Holtkamp.
Good evening. My name is Mary Holtkamp, and I live at 1562 Linkside Drive. A number of you know me. I am a retiree of the district, and I am coming to you tonight not to say what we should or should not do. I am bringing to you the questions that I have had to field, and some of them I have answers for, some I don't. Okay. I know that if this group could make the decision would have already been made. The problem is that there's an uphill challenge with the voters not on whether they're going to reelect you, but whether they're going to vote for this tax increase. So I came tonight to share some of the concerns that I have had brought to me. And Ms. Dixon, I'm one of those frustrated voters, so a number of your issues kind of hit home. Among the things that I have had to try to answer are, if we're in such bad shape, why did we not ask for a half-cent sales tax when we asked for the increase at the last election.
In the millage.
I don't
We can
have that answer.
We can
You-
answer that.
I know you can, but the voting public, as you can see, not many are here tonight. So the thing that I would challenge is get this information out to the public.
I agree.
I agree with all of the statistics that have been mentioned tonight, but that's in this room. That's not out in the public. Among the things that I've had questions posed to me are, and I completely respect the gentleman here in uniform, but a lot of people are asking, how can we afford to pay first-year employees more than we're paying a lot of our teachers? I don't have an answer for that. And you all are the ones who can get this out to the public. I can't give them a good answer. The other issue that I have tried to field and I don't have an answer for is, why do all of these new police officers need vehicles when they're going to a school just like our teachers go to a school? They're not on patrol. I don't have an answer for that, nor does most of the voting public. Another thing, let's see, is we need to, I guess the biggest thing is we need to get the message out to the public if we're going to change the public's view before they vote, whether it's this year or next year. That's the challenge that we face. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have taken these down, and I agree, the public needs to be informed so that there's no questions like this that aren't answered. And I know Mr. Davis and the board will see up to that. Okay, the next card is Angela Ledbetter.
Never spoken at a school board, so
If you'd state your name and address for the record, thank you.
Angela Ledbetter, 3169 B Street East, Orange Park, Florida,
Thank you.
and 32073.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm very recently retired, just picked up the certificate. Along with Miss Dixon. Is it Miss Dixon? Yes. So I would like to say that I have been the recipient and working in a lot of the things that Dr. Kemp addressed, a lot of the buildings, seen a lot of the things going on. I've been in the trenches. And that's basically a lot of times what I would call. My last 19 years was spent at Clay High School, which I loved working at. But it was, I think, there from 1970. And our program's moving over to another part of the building that still had carpet from that time frame. Now that's just been removed. And some of these things are addressed as the principals can address them. But it's going to take a group effort, and here is where we have to do what's right. Those things that we saw from Dr. Kemp, thank you, are unbelievable. Unbelievable. Not the fact that we have to teach in it, but the fact that our students are there, children are there, and the ones that we teach. So another thing that I would like to address that, I hear these things that come through over the, the things that people just say that they just don't even know what they're talking about. So, and it's outrageous. They don't know, they just say it. Our students are very successful. My children graduated from these schools. I can tell you nuts to anybody who thinks that they're not prepared. My son graduated from Orange Park High School, one of the oldest schools, in 1994. and has just received in March his second master's degree from Princeton University. So I know for a fact we prepare these students. My students are out there every day. You see them in jobs in this county that you are not aware of. Because I have students who have graduated and are paramedics. I teach in the health science program. Your nurses, your CNAs, we are out there and they are back in these communities giving back. And they are employable and ready to go to work. But without the new technology, which in our field of medicine is required, we're not sending them out as prepared as we can be. So that's a real serious concern to see that there's no money, coming in. We were making do, and things are coming along and along and along. But I've been here so long that I can tell you I know of the old attitudes, let's just fix it. But that doesn't work anymore. We've got to work together, and we do have to support the sales tax. And I agree, 1 cent is still too small, but at least a half cent may get us started. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next card is Ken Willie. Three more.
Ken Willie. I live at 3118 Chase Lane. I was reminded of a story earlier today about someone calling the office of I believe it was the Diocese of New York City's school to find out how many administrators they had. And the woman on the phone said, I'm not really sure. Hold on a second, let me count. And she stood up and counted, and I believe the number was 8. 8. I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
And how does a school district that size survive with that small of an administrative staff? And I couldn't find the story, but maybe I will, and I'll email it to you. But one of the things that I did find was a chart that said that we already spend more money on taxes than we do on food and housing combined. I think it's time for the school district and the county and the sheriff's office and all of these departments to find ways to tighten the belt. Because I see these spending projects coming up week after week and wondering, why is that money being spent? So get together with those departments, see if you can find ways to save money. And once you do that, then come back and ask again. But right now, I think there are other ways you can find this. Because once you find a way to feed this spending habit, then you're going to need more money in the future. And you've already raised the taxes once. If you do it now, what will you do next time? So I'm asking you, find ways to save money. Don't look for ways to feed your habit. It said, someone earlier, that if you float a bond, you have to pay that back. Well, taxes, you don't have to pay that back, do you? You just take it from the people who actually earn it. That money belongs to the people of Clay County. They sweat for that money, they earn that money belongs to them. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. The next card is Christopher Trahan.
Christopher Trahan, my address is on the card.
Okay.
Been hearing this chant for quite some time. You know, budgets reflect priorities. You know, you hear it come up quite frequently at bargaining, and now we get to look at it at the state. You know, at the time that we passed the millage, the PICO fund wasn't an issue. Okay? Now it's an issue, and now we have to figure out a solution to that issue. And it's painfully obvious that the state does not prioritize public education. They zeroed us out, and they rerouted that money to charter schools, where the money is not held responsible. Dr. Kemp, I wish I'd known that you were taking photos. I would have been happy to email you one, because by sixth period at my school, in my portable, because I'm one of those 900 that you spoke of, all right, Orange Park High School, I'm near 80 degrees by sixth period.
How many degrees?
Near 80.
Okay.
With a classroom full of teenagers. Do I need to talk about how my day ends? We have a professional, moral, and ethical responsibility to our students. It's my job to educate them. All right? It's your job to make sure that the facilities are maintained so that I can do my job and that my students can do theirs. We need the half-cent sales tax. If the state will not take care of us, it is our responsibility to band together and take care of our schools. If you don't have students in the system, you still benefit from these schools, because our students are the ones that are going to be employed at your business. Their life skills start with us. This is a long-term investment. We are helping them build their portfolio, and they're going to take those skills onto a vocational school, onto a secondary education, post-secondary educational experience, into the workforce. A half-cent sales tax is nothing compared to the payoff at the end of the road. This is their school. It is our schools. It is the community's schools. It takes a village. Lena, I would also part this with you. You're not making the decision to impose the tax now. What you are making the decision on tonight is to start the process and have the discussion. The decision is made down the road at the voting booth. You are giving the voters the right to voice their opinion at the ballot box, and whether or not they will agree or not. That is the decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Victoria Kidwell. I bet you thought I was never going to call your name.
Am I the last one?
No.
I want to watch the debate.
You're next to last.
Hi, my name is Victoria Kidwell, and my address is on file. Speaking as a resident tonight, I've been a resident of Clay County for more than 4 decades. I'm a homeowner, and my husband and I have raised 3 amazing children in Clay County. All of them were educated and inspired in Clay County's wonderful public schools. Like everything, Clay County has changed through the years, but one thing has remained the same. People want to come here. They want to make their home here. They want to raise their children in Clay County. People recognize the quality of our school system, just like I did. Quality schools are an essential factor when people decide to establish a residence. 24 districts have voted to tax themselves to better support their local schools. That's how important schools are to districts. It's no secret that Florida ranks 45th nationwide in educational funding. That's been going on for a while. So we've been in a budget shortage for a long time. Like the majority of public schools who struggle yearly with lack of funds, our necessary and costly repairs have continued to accumulate. I was a little astounded by the figure, $318 million. I thought it was more like $300 million, but it's understandable. So why is this happening? I went online and I looked on the DOE website, and I found the little PDF that explains the budget about the PICO funds, and found out that last year, Tallahassee appropriated $145,286,200 from PICO funds to charter schools. 10% of our children in Florida go to charter schools. That same year, they budgeted $50 million to all the public schools of those PICO funds. 90% of the children in Florida go to public schools. So 50 million to us. This year, as you said, zero to us, zero funds for PICO, which it clearly says right there on the PDF, which I felt like I was getting an education, remodeling, renovation, maintenance, repairs, and site improvements. Well, everybody needs those. If you have a home, you know you got to do it. You can't just let the roof leak. So what do? Tallahassee does not care if our roof leaks, if our air conditioning is broken, if our wood is rotted, if our schools continue to deteriorate. But we should care. The presentation laid out the repair needs. That doesn't even include new schools. As citizens, we all want to control where our hard-earned money goes, but local taxes for local schools is a good way to do that. It stays here, and it's all been laid out exactly what it's going to be used for. There's always going to be people that don't want to pay taxes, but I think the majority of people know how important it is to have great schools, and a half-cent sales tax is a good way to start. Thanks.
Thank you. And the last card is Smitty Huffman.
Smitty Huffman, you have my address on the card. Pretty much about 3/4 of what I was going to say has already been said. So I'll highlight a few things. My statistics are close to what I've heard, but not exactly. I thought we were 47th in teacher pay in the United States, in Florida, and I thought we were 46th in per pupil expenditures. I do know that the pupil expenditures is equivalent to what Florida did in 2008. Okay, so when it's equivalent to what was in 2008, we're looking at 11 years ago, kind of like the maintenance on the schools. Overall, there's been about a 9% drop in provided funding for public schools in the state of Florida since 2008. So when you have a 9% drop in funding, it has to come from somewhere. I teach at a portable. I'm one of the 900 and change. My portable also, I think they have it on a timer. I've tried to figure out how to go around it. I get 80-degree weather or 80 degrees in my portable before the end of the day as well. Of course, I have third grader little linoleum lizards running around. And basically $400 million was given to charter schools. All right, and zero in PICO funding total. So yes, charter schools are actually about 3%, not 10%. 10% includes all private schools and all Christian schools in the state of Florida. So 3% of that student population was charter schools. All the other statistics were given. I did want to, since they were given, I'll just give you a few urban social media myths. We won't ever have time to establish a police department in Clay County. That's a myth. Also, you're going to go to jail if you don't do it right. That's for all you school board members. There's over 900 years of experience in that police department. And I've had people come to me and say they don't want rent-a-cops, they don't want mall cops, and they don't have a clue that everybody in that police department are certified law enforcement officers. And like I said, I think the lowest has at least 5 years of law enforcement experience out of the 47 that have been hired. So that's an urban myth. One of the school board members is driving, oh, by the way, I heard the same one, except you're driving a car, a brand new Charger with tinted windows, so you can't be seen.
Ooh,
okay.
Where is it?
All right, so I want to make sure that. All right. So I just think the whole thing on the urban myth, you know, and when I ran for county commissioner, because people talked me into it, they're going to have a harder time this time. I had people lie about me, okay?
Really?
And there are people that are lying about what the school system does. I respectfully can disagree with you if you have a different philosophy. I don't respect for you, and I actually lost some people that I thought were friends because they lied about me, and I won't associate with them again. So hopefully you guys can approve putting on the referendum so the citizens of Clay County can decide themselves whether they want to do an increase. And I think some of them are confusing this underfunded state mandate that you had to use the 1 mil for basically, as far as I'm concerned, a politically knee-jerk reaction to put school security in the schools, which honestly was needed, but probably not in the manner by which it's done by the Florida legislatures. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything you do. Hopefully you'll go for the half cent. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have received information from board members that they would like to have a short break before we bring this back to the board. So we will take a break, 10 minutes. We'll be back in our seats. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll take your seat, we'll resume the board meeting. Okay. He what?
He had already gotten his request a while ago.
Already got his request.
In his records request, he said he did. He said he apologized. He's already got it.
Did you give it to it?
18 months ago.
Okay. Ms. Bola is back with us, and so we will resume our board meeting. This item was placed on the agenda by Ms. Karakas, and I will turn this over to Mrs. Karakas. And before we do anything, let's have a motion and a second, and then we'll have discussion.
All right, thank you. I move approval of the resolution regarding a school capital outlay 1/2 cent discretionary sales surtax, requesting the Clay County Board of County Commissioners call a special referendum election to submit the question to the voters of the county, authorizing an expenditure of funds paid to the Clay County Supervisor of Elections to cover the cost of a special election, and directing the school board attorney and superintendent to notify the Florida Office of Program Policy Analysis and Government Accountability of the action taken here tonight and immediately beginning the required audit process. Ms. Bush, I will give you a copy of this motion so you'll have it word for word. Thank you.
I second the motion.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Karakas and a second by Ms. Bullock. Then I'll let you start the discussion, Ms.
All right.
Karakas.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Legutko and Dr. Kemp for these presentations we saw tonight. And thank you to Dr. Kemp's team for what they put up with every day with all of the things that are literally falling apart in our county. I mean, we see it when we walk through the schools and we hear complaints from employees when they reach out to us. You see it on a day-to-day basis constantly. And so you're keeping us together and keeping us operating, and we really appreciate it. We know it's a lot of work and a lot of Band-Aids, so thank you. You know, we've talked about this now last month at our agenda review, at our meeting, but we've been talking about it for 2 years. I think it's probably one of the first things when Mr. Davis and Dr. Kemp came and they realized, like Dr. Kemp said, wow, what have you been doing? You know, the disbelief of the condition of our district. And, you know, we're so blessed to be an A district. And Mr. Davis, you have brought us a long way in our grades and our fund balance and our graduation rate. We're heading in the right direction. And this is really what we need to do now is focus on our facilities and get them back up to speed where they belong. And so it's probably been 2 years when he first, maybe a year and a half ago when he gave his first presentation on the growth and development and new schools that needed to be built and repairs and infrastructure, things that need to be taken care of. So, you know, we've talked about it and we need to be proactive about it. I personally have been out in the community just doing my day-to-day things, and I've had people come up to me. I've received phone calls and emails, and like tonight, the support is there. And we are not going to be raising the taxes. We're asking the voters. We're asking the voters to support public education, and I believe it's the right thing for the school board to do. School board. So I really believe now is the time because the need is there. We can't just keep ignoring it and try to fix it and hope that it holds out for another 6 months. So we need to be proactive. As Dr. Kemp said tonight, there's 20-something, 24 districts that have already gone out for an increase to their sales tax, 5 of them just last time. And, you know, I have a list of notes, but he's touched on all of it already about the PICO funding that we're losing. You know, that's $900,000 last year. But Dr. Legutko, every year they seem to whittle a little more off of it. I think when I first got on the board, it was around $3 or $4 million PICO dollars that we received. So it's gradually gone down. And that's just one thing that they're not funding like they used to. Or when the legislature does fund it, they mandate it for specific things. There's unfunded mandates, there's partially funded. We just can't seem to do it anymore. I mean, we are really, really doing more with less, and we're at the point where we need help now. So there's never a good time, as we all know, and I feel like this is the best time for us to go out, and it would be the last chance to do a special election. I think a special election is really important for us to go out on, as opposed to waiting to do it in a general election. So people who really care are going to come out, and they're going to put public education first, and they're going to vote to approve this. So I feel like we can't wait any longer. Somebody said we need to tighten the belt. We need to tighten purse strings or something. We can't tighten it anymore. We are at the max. I think we're 11th from the bottom in funding that we receive from the state. The legislature continues to cut funding to public education, and so this is our only option now. Unless somebody can come up with another additional funding stream, a revenue stream for us, we're at a loss. So I applaud the board members for saying, all 5 of us are in agreement, that we need to go out on a sales tax. And I applaud them for being proactive on this and not kicking the can down the road any longer. So I have a list of reasons why we should go out on it, but I think what I'll do is just pass the mic and let somebody else talk, and we can get back to it if I need to. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bullock, any comments?
I do. I prepared a little statement just so I wouldn't leave things out. First of all, good evening. Thank everyone for your passion about our schools in our district, regardless of what side you might fall on. In fact, if the county were to currently have the sales tax tonight alone, we would have generated revenue from each of you who went out to eat, purchased a new shirt, or the countless other expenditures that you might have made. I too am passionate about our district, and I believe everyone expects the best education possible from the Clay County School District. I also believe we would want our students and staff to be able to attend safe, clean, and up-to-date schools. Issues that are sometimes voiced are, first, stay within your budget. I have no children in school. And finally, timing. I would like to address those three items. First, I have one home in Clay County that at the most housed 3 people. Our district has 42 schools and at the least houses 403 students and at the most 2,495 students. And this does not include the staff. When I needed to upgrade fire safety in my home, I went out, purchased a new fire extinguisher, bought new and upgraded smoke detectors, and for less than $200, I was done. Tonight, we just approved approximately $1 million for parking lot lighting. Clay Electric, for about $8 a month, puts a security light in my front yard. And fire alarms for a mere 5 schools. So schools are not like the average house. And when upgrades or replacements are made, it is a major expense. Second, great schools make great communities. They raise property value, reduce the crime rate, and make our neighborhoods a place people want to live. There are certain roads I never drive on, certain Clay County fire departments that would never be dispatched to my home because of where I live, but they are there if I need them. We are all in this together. I came to this county for the great schools and lake in the Keystone area, and many of you might say the same thing. I moved off of the lake because of their fluctuation, put in a pool, and added water with my garden hose. If it goes down, then that's what happens. The schools, however, didn't fluctuate. They've stayed great all the time. Third and last, timing. When is a good time for a tax increase? I've never heard anyone say, wow, the second Thursday would be a great day for a tax increase. I've also never heard anyone say, tomorrow I'm going to be next door to a tire store. Sure would be a great time if I had a flat tire. Never heard anybody say that either. So when is a good time? Keystone Heights Elementary is getting a paved parking lot this year for their employees. It is a school that sits on about 8 acres with about 800 students, not counting the staff. They have been parking on an empty dirt lot for decades that previously didn't even belong to the Clay County School District. It recently has been repurchased from St. William's Catholic Church and now is being paved. Or how about Keystone Heights Junior-Senior High School that opened in 1974 with students aged 12 to 18 or 19 years of age on the same campus. When the school was built and then opened, the residents were told, next, you will be getting a junior high. 45 years later, the residents are still waiting. So you see, we're right about timing, and we are way past time. At least 45 years past time. A half cent is money well spent. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Bola, did you want to make any comments? Oh.
You know, I always want to make comments, Ms. Studdard. The question this evening is not necessarily whether we need a half-cent sales tax or not. We are all in agreement for a half-cent sales tax. The greatest question that I've had in considering this for quite literally, we've looked at it for 2 years. You're absolutely right, Ms. Karakas. Dr. Kemp shared his visions and his needs with us 2 years ago when they first did their analysis. My greatest concern is the fact that we are going to be spending $180,000 to do a special referendum. What could we use that $180,000 for? Well, that $50,000 boiler that Clay Hill needed, we could definitely cover the cost of that. We could cover the cost of possibly maybe repaving one of the cafeteria floors. I'm not certain. I don't know what everything costs in that respect, and they're all incredibly huge expenses. I believe it was Ms. Boatwright, if I'm not mistaken, who mentioned the fact that we need to take our time in educating everyone who's involved with this. The people who make the decision for this, Mr. Trahan said, are the citizens of the county. We are putting this forward to the citizens of the county. They will make that decision. I don't want to kick the can down the road. We're looking at 30 years of a half-cent sales tax. We're looking at, if I'm not mistaken, we were looking at possibly the end of August, beginning of September, or the end of September, beginning of October for this referendum. That's a few months. Yes, we were able to form a police department in a few months. We were able to get our millage passed. That was a knee-jerk reaction, as Mr. Huffman said, from the legislature for our safety and security needs, and we got it done. We have yet to see the millage for that. We have yet to see any income from that millage. And we have we've already set everything up and we're ready to go. And personally, I think we're spending that money wisely, with integrity, and following up on everything that we said that we were going to be doing with that millage. My greatest concern is that we educate the public, so that we don't have just the concerned citizens who are concerned about our school district joining us in this half-cent sales tax, but as many citizens as we can educate. And if it means going to the election in November of 2020, and we have the opportunity for people to see, yes, those needs will be met with a half-cent sales tax. Ms. Becky said, yeah, let's go for a penny. That would be awesome. But if we are to go for that half-cent sales tax, a wait of a few months to make certain that we get as many citizens on board with us as we possibly can means a great deal as well. I am definitely for the half-cent sales tax. If the board this evening decides to go for the special referendum, I will be behind it 100%. My concern, however, is that we're continuing to talk safety and security in something that we've established with the millage, and we need to come back to that. I mean, that's probably a minor part of what we would be doing with all of the building. I also had a question for Dr. Kemp regarding the K-8 school in Palmy Island. I was not aware that we had the growth necessary for that particular school at this time, or if that was a suggestion for a change to Green Cove Middle at some point in the future. I don't recall seeing that. I recall seeing the 5 schools, not the 7 schools. Clay County is going to be facing some critical changes in the next number of years. With the First Coast Expressway coming through, I went to the meeting and heard from all of the participants about the growth that's going to be experienced. There are a lot of Clay County residents that don't want to see that growth. With the First Coast Expressway, we're not going to have a choice. It's coming. It's there. We anticipated the growth quite some time ago at Shadowlawn. And when we first opened Shadowlawn, we had a need of students there. Now it's full. We're planning ahead, but I want to do it, as I said earlier, with integrity and with thought, with forethought. I don't want to kick the can down the road. We need this half-cent sales tax. The question is when. When can we do this to the best of our ability? Spend the money to have the special referendum or wait until the November election? Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Gilhousen, any comments?
I don't think I could have said it any better than Ms. Bola. I agree with her. There's no arguing the need for the half-cent sales tax. I mean, the presentation that we just watched makes the case for itself. My concern is the timeline, and that's been my concern since we started having this discussion. I remember talking about the potential for a sales tax in my first term. That was a point of discussion we had at one point, but there was no appetite from the majority of the board to go forward with it at that point. So the need has been there since I ran for office 5 years ago. And it was something that I talked to constituents about then, and I've never stopped. I've always seen the need for that. I just really strongly feel that when you set up a special election, there's a certain amount of distrust that creates with the community. And I don't think that we have the capacity for that right now. As far as, I really think that we need to be working towards building that trust with our community and educating them on everything we just saw. I would love to see some town hall sessions, not just in our schools, but out in the community, showing them the need that's there and building the consensus before we go and ask for it formally at the ballot box. So that, my opinion hasn't changed. It's been consistent from when we talked about it at the workshop. So I'll just leave it at that.
Ms. Stutter, can I add something before you speak?
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, a couple of speakers did say it, and Ms. Bola did also, about a full 1 cent going out on that. We can't do that. The max you can do is a half cent. So I just wanted to put that out there and clarify that. And just one other thing, we lost $625,000 earmarked for Coppergate Elementary also. We didn't even think of that one tonight, but just made me think of that. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to add that in there. Thank you.
I like being last.
I
So
know.
I can
It's okay.
hear what y'all say, and then I don't have to repeat a lot of it. In the years that I've been on this school board, when we moved here in '79, my kids went to OPE. It was an old school back then. I remember when I first saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, that looks like a school I went to when I was in grammar school, in elementary school. Having served on the school board for many years, there's, been criticism. Why didn't y'all do this earlier? Why don't you ask Ms. Studdard why the schools are in such disrepair? She's been on the board, since time began. Well, to answer that, we didn't have the money then either. We have kicked the can down the road year after year after year. We went out for the millage instead of a sales tax because of Parkland. We had to do something, as every other district in the state of Florida did. The beautiful thing about a sales tax is that it's not just the Clay County citizens who are paying it. people who come and buy automobiles in Clay County, who shop at Orange Park Mall, who come into our county to see the movies, whatever the reason, they're going to help us be able to do things for our schools. I know the $180,000 cost, I think that was mentioned by Ms. Bola, that she was concerned about that. But I'm going to tell you, if I could spend $180,000 and see the kind of return that we could get for our school system, I think that's a small price to pay. There's too many things. Those pictures that Dr. Kemp showed are absolutely horrifying, and we don't have the money. He's told me all year, let's just pray a chiller doesn't break at Orange Park High School, because it was, what, $1.2 million for one of the 3 chillers up there. That's not right for us to live in fear that an air conditioner is going to go out and that we don't have the money to fix it, and some of the things are so old we can't even get parts to fix it. I look around at other counties, such as St. John's, that has their sales tax. They seem to be taking a lot of pride in their schools, and they're facing a lot of growth over there. We're going to have a lot of growth with this Outer Beltway. We have $318 million, and this isn't pie in the sky dreams. We hope we can do this. These are needs that we have in our schools today. Anybody who doesn't believe that, go to Dr. Kemp's office. He can point it out line by line by line. Excuse me, I've had a cold and I've still got a tickle. With the Outer Beltway coming in and the new schools that are going to be needed, we have to have help. I can't talk anymore right now. Go back to you.
I'll go ahead and talk for a bit. I'd be happy to. So some of the reasons that I had put together as to why I felt the sales tax was really important is supporting public education is supporting our children. We know, as Mrs. Studdard just said, we want to take pride in our schools. Buses were mentioned tonight. We'd like to have buses that all have air conditioning and video cameras in them, and we're working towards that. But there's always a constant turnover. I believe the shelf life on a bus is 10 years, and we may have pushed that to 12 years. If we could go back to the 10 years, that would be much better for us. You know, it's more equitable, as Mrs. Studdard said. Everybody who shops in Clay County will pay that additional and support our schools instead of going to, you know, when we go to the outlet malls, we're supporting St. John's, their schools. So, and Mr. Davis, back to the Coppergate thing. The governor vetoed that $625,000 for the performing arts. $625,000.
$695, I think.
Yeah. Any update on, you know, what we're going to do about that?
You know, that was, through the chair, that was additional funding that we were going to put into Coppergate to expand the visual performing arts from a structural standpoint. So right now we do have additional teachers going in for the 1920 school year. We'll have some visual performing arts offerings from our teachers before, during, or after school. And we will look at the facilities plan to see what we can do to address those needs to expose our children to those types of practices. However, that's funding that that we won't be able to have in order to create some real nice structural efforts to help our children, especially with equipment as well. So back to the drawing board. We're going to have some meetings next week or the next 2 weeks with the school choice office to see if there's additional grants to go out and seek. But, you know, it's unfortunate that it didn't get signed. But back to the drawing board, we won't give up, and we'll continue to hopefully expand that initiative for our children.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Well, did anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Ms. Bullock? Ms. Gilhousen? Ms. Bola? No? Ms. Studdard, you feeling better?
I feel great. I just couldn't
Sound
get the
bad, huh?
tickle out of my throat.
We got it.
Keep talking. Give me a chance.
Through the chair, Ms. Bulla, we used your water for Mrs. Studdard.
Oh, thank you for the water, Mrs. Bowler.
Yes, you're welcome. I noticed that. Mr. Davis, you owe me one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. In the mail.
No,
Go ahead.
when I was out of the room, I think I heard somebody mention the 625,000 that we were cut
For Coppergate.
for the Coppergate
Performing Arts.
School.
Mhm.
I had my heart set on that. I was so disappointed to see that the governor vetoed it. And then to see our PICO funds
I
go from
know.
855 last year to 0 this year.
855,000
Yeah.
to 0. Yeah, and then the 1.7 from the
It just seems like
BCC.
we can't catch a break. And, you know, the money coming from Tallahassee, help me on the percentages here, because I'm sure you've seen it. They're wanting us to take care of ourselves locally. The percentage from the state to help fund education has gone down to what, like 57% now? And the rest is funded by the local, and it used to be like 70, 80%. I don't even remember the numbers exactly, but they are forcing the counties to take care of yourself. They're giving us less and less percentage of the money. You always see these statistics about Florida and how low it's funded, how poorly our teachers are paid. You know, we are making great strides in Clay County. We're back up into number 8 in the count in the state. We're able to realistically now look at things like insurance and pay for our employees, air conditioning on buses. There's so many things that we are doing that's good, but we have had to prioritize and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. And, you know, this is about our kids. When I got on the school board a few years ago, I got on it because I cared about the kids in Clay County. By George, I still care about the kids in Clay County, and I will go to my grave caring about the kids here in Clay County. My job is to try to provide adequate facilities, good teachers, a fine education for the kids in Clay County schools, and that is my job, and I'm going to do everything I can to help our kids. That's what it's about, the kids. We can't get lost in all this political double talk and people getting on Facebook and saying things that are outright lies, and then they don't understand the difference in capital budget and millage and what it can be used for. You know, with this sales tax, there will be an oversight committee. And I guarantee you those 4 areas that Dr. Kemp said that this money has to be used for, it is statute. We cannot use that money to buy cars for board members, to give.
Still waiting.
You know, I didn't even know I had tinted windows
Should
on
all
my
get
car.
red.
I'm on a roll now. We cannot use this money for anything other than what it is stated in law that we must use it for. This oversight committee, if you don't trust us, go for it. But this oversight committee will make doggone sure that every nickel of that sales tax is spent the proper way that it's supposed to be spent. And as for that matter, the millage that we will be getting in, by George, every nickel will be accounted for. There is no money being wasted. And are you taking any trips anywhere soon? I mean,
Through the
come
chair,
on.
no, ma'am.
You know, we are your elected officials. We're here. Why are we here?
For the
We're
children.
here for the kids. We're here to try to have the best school district in the state of Florida, and we're going to keep fighting and working for it. So I'm done. I'm through.
Miss
Go for
Miss
it.
Studdard, may I say one more thing?
Yes.
I started my career in Clay County at W.E. Cherry. I remember setting up all of the children to make a big 4-0 when we celebrated our 40th anniversary. The pride in the children at some of our oldest schools is incredibly strong. And it's just as strong, I will throw out there, as the pride in the students at Doe, our brand new school. The money that we're talking about for Coppergate was going to be cream. That was going to help us build a school of the performing arts. And unfortunately, that's one of those things I don't mind putting off for another year to be able to think about it and replan and go to Tallahassee and keep asking for that money. That was the first attempt. Generally, when we ask them for money, it has to happen once or twice or 3 times in 3 years. The student pride in our community is huge. We would like to do whatever we can for those students. You are absolutely right. I'm going to go back, though, to this. I just have this strong feeling that the more we can educate people so that there aren't those misconceptions. I mean, I've spoken with teachers recently who said, well, how can you do this when you ended up spending all of that money on a brand new logo? And I had to stop and say, wait a minute, wait. That money was donated specifically for advertising that logo and for replacing some of our things. We didn't use money to do that. That was specified for that. There is misconception out there. And being an educator, I feel that the more we can educate folks on this issue, the better we will have, the better response we'll have from the constituents and say, yes, a half-cent sales tax is exactly where we need to go. I've lived it. I walk the walk. I want to say, I think 3 years, I've been sitting here counting in my mind. I think it was 4 years actually on the second floor of the W.E. Cherry building. And every other year that I taught, I've been in a portable. And I've talked to each of you about what a lockdown in a portable is like. I've talked to each of you about what it's like being in a portable during a horrendous rainstorm or having heavy weather drills. And it's heavy weather. It's not good. I understand that. But those are the stories that need to get out, and those are the stories that need to educate the population as well. Just a thought. Thanks.
Okay. If anyone else have any comments before we take a vote?
I'm ready.
Okay. We have a motion by Ms. Carricka, second by Ms. Bullock, to approve the resolution for the half-cent sales tax, which would be sent over to the county commission. Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no.
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 Motion carries 3-2 with Mrs. Bola and Ms. Gilhousen dissenting. Next item, D2, Human Resources Special Action. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. Carricka, a second by Ms. Gilhousen. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. D3, advertisement and notice of public hearing on the 2019-2020 Student Handbook and Student Code of Conduct. I'll entertain a motion.
I think we have to open up the public hearing first.
It says, no,
it's
this is a
not.
notice
Oh.
of public hearing.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Hey, Ms. Gilhousen, let's let Ms. Bola
That's
second
fine.
it.
I'll
Okay.
defer.
Oh, thanks.
Her
I'm a
feed-
little bit late.
Hey, your feed came in a little late, but I could see your lips moving. Okay, motion by Ms. Carricka, second by Ms. Bola. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. School Board Attorney, remark.
I have a couple of things that I need to talk to you about just briefly before you get away from me. Number one, I have a resolution that needs to be signed.
Okay.
There was a vote that was 3-2 against passing the resolution and sending it over. There is still a choice to be made, even though you voted against the resolution now that it's passed and has become.
It was a 3-2
essentially-
in favor.
We passed the resolution.
I understand that, 3-2-4.
Right.
But there were two that voted against.
Right.
Even though they voted against it, my point is, Mrs. Studdard, you still can sign the resolution if you choose to, or you can refuse to sign it. So if I'm going to pass this around because it needs to be signed before you get away from me. Ms. Bola, if you choose to sign it, since you're not here and since this is going to the county commission tonight through the, I'm sending it myself, you can authorize Ms. Studdard to sign in your stead. She would sign your name by consent by Carol Studdards. But it's up to you to make that decision, and I just needed to pass that on.
Can I tell you right now?
Of course.
Oh, if you would, please sign my name.
Okay.
When a board
Then
makes a
I'll-
decision.
Ms. Studdard will
and it's
sign it.
positive, I
Ms.
was just
Studdard will sign it by consent. Yeah.
Ms. Studdard, please sign it, my name, by consent. And I'm going on public record that I have consented to this. When we make a decision as a board, we made the decision as a board. Whether I voted for or against it, the board has made the decision, and that's where my decision will go. So please sign in my stead, I guess.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You were trained well, by FSBA. Once the board makes the decision, thank you, Ms. Bola, and I will make sure I sign with your consent.
Just make it look good.
Okay.
Second thing, there are 3 copies. I have 3 originals for this, and the reason is because I'm going to send an original to the county commission. I'm going to send an original over your signature to OPAGA, and we have one original that's going to be maintained in the county office. The second thing is, you've just voted on number 2, D2, Human Resources, to terminate an employee. That employee, through an attorney, has requested a hearing. My recommendation is that you conduct the hearing with the board chair as the hearing officer, rather than send it to DOA. It's less expensive, it saves money, you come out in the long run with more personal attachment to the case. It would then follow the same process where a final order would be entered, tentative final order be entered by the board chair and then brought back to the full board. It's something that Ms. Studdard, you and I have done in the past several times. It works well, and it would come back to the board probably in about 4 months. If that's agreeable with you, rather than sending it to DOA, then Mr. Brodsky and I will have a conference call with the 2 attorneys that are involved on Tuesday, and we'll set a timeline to have it done, and I'll get with you to set up a time. Is that agreeable with everyone?
I'm fine with that.
What's
I'm good.
the pleasure of the board?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all. Just don't get away without signing the resolution, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. School board member remarks. Ms. Gilhousen? None? Ms. Bola?
I just want to say happy 4th of July to everybody.
Oh, come on.
Celebrating up here. Thank you. And I also want to say thank you for the discussion tonight. I thought it was very healthy. I think we're all heard, and I wish Mr. Davis luck. Looking forward to the rest of the summer. Seeing you soon.
Come back safely soon.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, have fun. Okay, Ms. Bullock.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the public really, because we take, one of the funding things that we use is our FASA conference, and it was wonderful. They had a workshop about the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting, and it would stop your heart. I was so glad that we got to see it, because it was brought us back to reality of how important that is. So I appreciate that. Also, I went to Special Olympics banquet, had a great time, and they are doing a fundraiser where you can actually sponsor a student for a certain amount, or you can sponsor a piece of equipment, all kinds of things. So I encourage you, I know a lot of you go to the Tip of Cop and all the different things for Special Olympics. I encourage you to help in their fundraiser with that. And finally, I'd like to thank AMI. We have 6 students that are currently attending from Keystone, and one of the employees at the high school received a call today from AMI saying how wonderful those students are doing. So I'm so thrilled that opportunity was made available to those students, so thank you. And I wish everybody a happy 4th of July. I wore my patriotic clothes today.
At least it's not orange and blue.
Or garnet and what is that, gray color, crimson and whatever that is.
It is
y'all?
called crimson and white,
Oh, is that
darling.
what it is? Oh,
Okay.
ugly.
Hey, football season's only about 60 days away. Can't wait. Okay, Ms. Karakis.
I don't have very much. I just want to say, thank you to the community for listening to us. I'm excited that our board's moving forward with, going forward with the sales tax increase, because I'm so excited to think that we can finally start repairing some of these schools. And I just want to say thank you to the citizens. Please consider it when we get out there and advertise and market it. Please listen. If you have questions, call any of us. We'd be happy to answer. So just wish everybody a safe and happy summer. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess it comes to me. I'm very proud of the board tonight, and I want to thank Dr. Kemp and Dr. Legutko for your presentations. I appreciate the comments from those who filled out cards. It takes time and effort to come down to our meetings and speak, and I really do appreciate y'all caring so much and sticking with us. And Chief Wagner, I want to tell you the officers, Mills and Romano in the back, look very distinguished in their new uniforms. I'm very impressed, and so everything sounds, from what I hear, everything is all systems go. We have our people; they're being trained. Everything's good, and I just want y'all to know how much we are appreciative of you being here, and we feel very safe. Thank you. And did you want to say anything else before we adjourn?
No, ma'am, you did a great job.
Goodness gracious, we've got you spoiled now. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Have a good 4th of July.